Welcome back. I'm really excited today. When I announced I had this guest on, a bunch of people from my company, MOA Mentoring, and a bunch of people here at Sticky Paws were really excited to meet him. I've got to see him speak on several occasions, and he's an extremely, extremely good speaker, incredible motivator. He is the host of the podcast Dropping Bombs on Bradley TV. He is the creator of LightSpeed VT interactive training system. He's the author of Lessons I've Learned the Hard Way So You Don't Have to. He's been featured in Forbes, the Huffington Post, Inc. magazine, the New York Times. He's a serial entrepreneur, founder of several different companies, and most impressively, he is the father of 7. I don't know how he has time to do all this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Bradley. Thank you for coming out here, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so like I said, there were a bunch of people who were like really excited. I got to see you speak a couple times at Elevator Nights. Dan Fleyshman, who has connected the world, man. I keep telling people how he's the most unassuming guy. And then you go to his birthday party and like every famous person you can think of is there. I mean, how incredible is that when you think about like networking from at that level?
Yeah, well, he's been doing it a while and he's 1,000% authentic, meaning he doesn't really want anything from anybody. He's just there to help people.
Yeah.
And it shows because like everybody loves him.
Yeah, that. I don't know a single person that has a bad thing to say about him. That's
if he ever calls and says, hey, can you come? We're here in town and can you come by? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I never say no.
Exactly. Yeah, and like for me to give me an opportunity to speak at Elevator Nights, I was just like, I literally walked in one time and he goes, I want you to come up here and speak. It was like 45 seconds before they were going on.
Wow.
And he had planned on having me up there, and I went up there and spoke, and it was great. I mean, because I just had him on my podcast, and he is, I think he's fantastic at connecting people, fantastic at recognizing talent, fantastic at finding win-win situations, probably better than anybody I've ever seen as far as that's concerned. Just figuring out a way for everyone to win in a situation, and like just a really great role model for that. Can you talk about your podcast, Dropping Bombs? I learned a lot from it. I probably watched maybe 12 episodes recently. The way you use your the chapter feature in YouTube to show where the bombs are, that kind of stuff. I thought it was really interesting. What was the ethos? Where did that idea come from?
Well, I have a mission in life, and that is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it.
Yeah.
Because I think people fail because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's not because they want to. And then there's all these people kicking ass. It's like if those people kicking ass could just get that knowledge to the people losing, we'd have a more successful life. So one of my companies is an interactive training software. So I get a lot of subject matter experts coming in because they're clients and they use the system. And I just said, man, while these people are here, why don't I throw a couple microphones and pick their brain? And that's why I did it, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. And they got a lot of knowledge, and they're walking through my office. So I'm like, hey, sit down. Let me talk to you for a minute.
That's awesome. That's kind of like you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, where he's basically told, well, I'm going to give you access to all these people. You're going to write a book. Dale Carnegie says, I'm not going to pay you for it, but you get to keep the knowledge. And I think it's really interesting that that's what you're doing. You have a bunch of people. So they're coming in for LightSpeed VT, and then you're interviewing them while they're there.
Well, that's how it started.
Yeah.
Now they're coming in for Dropping Bombs
Yeah.
and finding LightSpeed VT, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because, when I started it was people from LightSpeed VT, but then when the podcast started growing, people started calling me, asking to be on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are pretty decent sized people. And I'm like, damn, this is getting big. I didn't realize, because there's no subscriber list or something. I don't know how many. I mean, Libsyn tells me how many downloads I get.
Yeah.
I don't know how many followers that is.
Right.
But it's getting sizable.
Yeah.
And now people are coming in for the podcast, and then they're like, what's LightSpeed? Because I have it at the LightSpeed Studios. And then I'm like, well, funny you ask. And then I end up getting a freaking customer.
So if I was trying to create an online mentoring program or teaching program, that's what I'd use LightSpeed for? What exactly would I do there?
LightSpeed's just an interactive tool that allows you to create, deliver, track, and measure interactive content. We started with training, so that's really the focus.
Okay.
So if you're a company and you want to train your people better, you would use LightSpeed. If you're Tony Robbins or some subject matter expert and you want to sell your training, you would use LightSpeed.
So would you guys just do regular info products also besides training?
No. Well, it just depends. I mean, we show people how to leverage the technology to accomplish what they're trying to do. Usually it's either selling courses or training people. And what's funny is a company that wants to train people needs courses. So it's vertically integrated.
Yeah.
I got companies that say, hey, can you get me sales training? Well, I've got all the sales experts. Can you get me, sexual harassment? I've got sexual harassment. So I mix the need, people wanting it with the people having it. So it, again, aligns with my mission.
That's amazing. Okay. No, that makes a lot more sense. From the podcast that you do, what are some of the more memorable guests that you have? I've seen the ones that you had. The one with the funny salesman was really interesting. Like, the guy's supposed to be like the best best door-to-door salesman in the world. What was that about?
Well, I mean, I just saw a video a long time ago, probably the same one you saw.
Yeah.
And someone knew him and said, dude, Kenny Brooks follows you and he wants to know if you want him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just brought him in and picked his brain a little bit. But I think the most memorable out of them all was one where nobody knew who the person was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were struggling, and it was funny. I think it's episode 72. You better go watch it. It's
okay.
Johnny Cardone. Like, you wouldn't know who he was, but you get sometimes information from what not to do.
Okay.
That's more valuable than what to do.
What was that episode like? What was he talking about?
He was just describing his situation, which by many would be considered, broke.
Yeah.
Hitting the skids, if you will, and how we got there, and what, obviously I was picking his brain, and, you could see his mindset. And a lot of times that mindset is what is screwing somebody.
Right.
So it was just a great episode because, like, he really believes what he believes, and it was just perfect, material for me to go, don't you think like this? Wouldn't you consider that? And it was just massive. And not only that, he's just funny.
Yeah.
The situation was funny. People thought I was hammering him, but I really wasn't. I was being serious.
Was that the Asian dude? Because there was an Asian guy you were hammering for a while.
He's my handyman.
Okay.
He hangs around the office and fixes shit.
So you interviewed the handyman.
That's
from
right.
I've done this before where I was on the red carpet for like some event, and I interviewed like one of the lights or sound guys. And it was one of these things where, like, everyone has a perspective. It makes you a better interviewer. I don't think there's any bad interviews. I think what happens is you as the interviewer need to understand that there's a common humanity with every single person that's ever lived, no matter how vapid they are, how educated or uneducated. And it's your job to, like, pull that out through curiosity. One of the ones that I was curious about, the David Nino Rodriguez one, that one went viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
How did you get in touch with him? How did that whole thing start?
I wish I had the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, someone reached out.
Yeah.
I looked him up. He was a championship boxer. His topic was, something I'm a little bit concerned with.
Yeah.
Which is like child sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. Because I want to bring attention to that shit. I don't understand that shit, quite frankly. Like 800,000 children go missing right here in the United States alone, and nobody says shit.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Where are they going? Why is nobody looking for them? And when he said he talks about that, and he was talking about, like, deep Hollywood shit.
He was
shit that'll get you canceled.
He was getting to the adrenochrome stuff. Yes, that's correct.
Like all that crazy shit. And I'm like, dude, this will be a good conversation.
Yeah.
So I said, come up. He turned out, he's a pretty cool dude. He's got a kind of a big following.
Yeah, and I will listen to the podcast. It didn't start off like that. You got into that thing, and he went in there, and he was very certain of his beliefs. He's like, everyone knows this, everyone knows. And I thought it was really interesting listening to the two of you go back and forth, because that is a topic of controversy right now. When it comes to that, have you come to any conclusion since that? That was like over a year ago when you did that podcast. Have you learned anything since then about that topic?
That it's brushed under the rug a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my eyebrow up.
Yeah, that is disconcerting.
Yeah, I mean, as a father of 7,
of course,
you can imagine the concern.
That would be 7 times the concern. Definitely.
And 5 girls.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How do you have time to do all this, man?
Well, it's easy.
Yeah.
There's always 15 minutes in there somewhere.
15 minutes a day to raise your kids. Yeah.
Not to raise them, to have them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I asked him before, I was like, how do you do 7 kids? You were like, it's easy. It's easy to have 7 kids.
Well, I mean, I don't raise them alone.
Yeah.
I've got their mothers, fortunately, that helped and, did a lot of the heavy lifting, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And, I operate with priorities, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if my business is suffering, dude, I might stay 10 straight days, don't go home. Not literally, but damn near. And then the kids need me, or something happens where now I got to focus on them. I'll leave the business for, 2 weeks if I have to. I deal with what's in front of me. I don't focus on what the society says I should be as a parent.
Yeah.
And I don't fear other people's judgment so much. So it's working for me.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working for my kids. So, I mean, I haven't lost any to, you know, the drugs and the crime or anything. So we're doing pretty good.
That's awesome. That's good to hear, man. Grant Cardone, you've had him on before. What's that like? What's he like? This guy's a super motivated. I'm from Texas also. Like, I listen to a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
What's he like?
Well, Grant is like you see on social media
Yeah.
a little bit. But fortunately, I met Grant when not many people knew who he was. And, you know, I was chasing him to do the LightSpeed thing. And that turned out for him quite well, you know, in the millions per month type thing. So we got to be, you know, buddies. And so we hung out, and he came out of his shell a little bit, I would say. Like, he didn't always act like that.
Yeah.
You know, the way he acts now.
He looks like a rapper up there sometimes. And he some of the videos he makes, I'm like, whoa, like he's really out there.
Well, he understands how to get attention.
He does.
Yeah. Master marketer. Good dude. I mean, you know, everybody has haters, but, you know, at the end of the day, if someone asked me to vouch for Grant Cardone, I'd vouch for Grant Cardone. Like, he's not out trying to screw people. He's not trying to just get your money. You know, he's literally trying to do both. But no, not both. He ain't trying to screw you, but he is trying to get some money. He's trying to get paid. He's focused on money, but he also realizes the value of information. And if I can help you triple your business, why is that not worth something?
Yeah.
And then he learned the value of social media and started posting, and boom, blew up.
Is he the biggest, who are some of the biggest guys from LightSpeed VT that have come in there and used your services?
Well, again, he became the biggest partially because he was on LightSpeed. And, and I always joke with him because, like, I kind of coached him into that.
Yeah.
But big now because he got a lot bigger than he was.
Yeah.
But it depends on what you mean by big. But Tony Robbins, I think, is bigger.
So Tony Robbins using LightSpeed.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
You
That's
know,
incredible.
and Damon John, you've heard of him.
Yeah, okay.
So you know, John Maxwell, Brian Tracy. So, I mean, you know, a lot of big names and brands use LightSpeed. UFC, General Motors, like a lot of them, household names use LightSpeed one shape or way. But as far as big, like, personality, he's probably one of the biggest personalities that come through there.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. When I listen to him talk, sometimes I feel like I'm listening to my old coach, high school football coach in Texas.
Yeah, dude, he says it simple, man. He doesn't try to be something he's not.
Yeah, Ed Mylett, tell me about him.
Love that dude.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
He is a good dude. Yeah,
yeah, he's a you know, good, God-fearing, you know, quality individual.
Yeah,
but you know, when you say tell me about him, like, what do you mean?
Like, just in general, I guess your interactions with him mostly from the interviews, but you guys hang out sometimes. You told me before you party with him, or you've been out with him before. What I guess a lot of people want to know, like you said before, Grant is the same, who he is as a person, and then how he perceives himself sometimes online. Is Ed like that also? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy Frisella.
Yeah.
Like, if you look up the definition of cool, you'll see a picture of Andy.
Yeah.
And Ed and Andy did their group Arate, you know. So I get to hang out with them on occasion for various reasons. I'm either speaking where they're speaking, or, you know, because now we know each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think I hang out with them enough.
Yeah.
You know, Ed Mylett, he's jet set, and he's got the most beautiful homes. He's in the insurance space, which I just discovered. And so now I'm in the insurance space, and, you know, he's looking at me with a little bit of a raised eyebrow, and I'm
really,
like, well, a little bit,
yeah,
because he calls me, he's like, dude, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this with me? And I'm like, well, I don't know any better, and yada yada. But we had a couple of words month and a half ago, and turns out he ain't following me anymore.
Ed?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I'm like, whatever, dude. So I unfollow his ass.
Yeah.
And about a week later, I get a text, and Ed's like, you unfollowed me, dude? And I said, well, you unfollowed me. I felt like we were married. Yeah. But I said, you unfollowed me. He goes, dude, I didn't unfollow you. I swear to God. So that's the last joke we've had together. But Ed's a good dude. I just don't hang out with him as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
Like Ed's one of those dudes where if I were to model myself after somebody, I'd pick Ed as one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I feel that way about Dan and Ryan Stewman. I wish I could hang out with Ryan all the time. That guy is just such a cool guy.
Yeah, Ryan's hilarious.
Yeah.
Him and I think, the only two, quote unquote entrepreneurs that are out there that are doing stand up.
Yeah.
Have you seen his stand up?
No, I did not know he was doing stand up. I had no idea.
Yeah. Text him. Do you know him?
Yeah, of course.
Text him. Say, send me your videos.
I got questions for you from him.
Say, send me your videos.
I will. I'm definitely going to do that now.
If you go to my YouTube channel, it's easier just to go to bradlee.tv to find it, because that's all it is. It's my YouTube channel. And type in CEO does stand up.
Yeah.
You'll see my attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like 15 minutes of stand up at a comedy show.
Where are you from originally?
Oregon.
Oh, Oregon. Okay.
A lot of people think Texas for some reason.
That is what would have been my first guess.
I don't know why.
Just I think what happens is me being from Texas, Grant being from Texas, Ryan being from
Grant's
Texas.
from Louisiana.
Right. Or that's right. Grant's from Louisiana.
But I don't sound like I'm from Texas. And then people will say, you sound like you have a southern drawl. And I'll say, I don't sound like that. And they'll go, you don't sound like that. And I'm like, I didn't just say that. I didn't just say that. And I'm like, am I not hearing what you're hearing?
Yeah.
I must not be, because I don't sound southern.
I can see how you could sound southern.
Well,
I think what it is,
maybe it was a past life.
You have a deep voice, and you have a very relaxed tone, and you're not rushing through your words, and that's just how we talk in the South, and I think that may be where it comes from.
Well, I wouldn't deny it.
Yeah.
In other words, I'll say I'm from Texas. That's a cool place to be from.
Yes.
But I'm from a small town in Oregon called Cottage Grove.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So you've had, how many interviews have you done? How many episodes have you done with the podcast?
Going on 500.
500.
Yeah.
So that's how many years is that?
Like 2.
2 years.
Maybe 3.
2 years and you got 500? That's incredible.
Yeah, well, a lot of customers were coming in the beginning, so I mean, I didn't have any shortage of guests.
Yeah.
And now, because of its reach, I don't have any shortage of guests.
Yeah.
So when people come to town, which is often because it's Vegas, I say, swing by, let's do a podcast. I probably have, no kidding, 50 waiting to be released.
Wow.
Yeah, so now people are coming in, they're like, when will this be out? And I'm like,
next year?
Yeah, like 2023 in June.
God, I'm 5 ahead. I can't believe that, man. That's crazy.
I think I'm going to start dropping maybe 3 a week so I
Yeah.
can catch up. Because people will come in, they want it to drop soon, especially if they have something to promote. Like, hey, I got a show and coming up on the 17th, and the podcast comes out 6 months later.
I have to do a lot of them out of order because of that.
Yeah.
I have to post them a lot out of order just for that reason. I think I'm 4 or 5 ahead right now. But yeah, it is one of these things where, I'm afraid to go. If I do 2 a week, then I'm stuck to 2 a week forever, right? That's kind of like what I have to do. And so in order to get ahead, I got to do twice as much. But if you're 50 ahead, that's amazing, man.
Yeah. I might be exaggerating.
Do you have ever have a challenging guest? You have somebody on there and they're just not giving you much?
No, because I'll fill in when they don't.
Yeah.
But I had one out of all those that I forgot to say, don't drop that episode.
Yeah.
And they dropped it anyway.
Yeah.
And there was just one.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember his name, but that was the problem.
Did the episode do well anyway?
No. I probably lost subscribers. I probably lost listeners. And then, like someone like you will be like, oh, dropping bombs. Yeah, I'll check it out. And then that's the one you freaking watch.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, this sucks.
I would just be transparent and say we took it down. It wasn't that interesting.
Well, I don't know if we took it down because I don't care. I leave it up. But I was going to say, don't drop that episode. And I forgot.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they dropped the episode. And someone texted me like, dude, you got to get better guests. But the problem was there was no reaction, and everything was dry, and every answer was a pitch.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And it went on forever, and I had to literally interrupt him and redirect him, and it was just these dry, long, pitchy answers. And finally, I said, "Dude, thank you for coming in." And then I ended it, and then I'm like, "All right, thanks for coming in." And I'm thinking in my head, "Shit, that'll never see the day of light or the light of day." And then they dropped it anyway.
Have you ever watched Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort, that interview?
Yes.
I loved that interview. Probably one of my favorite of anything to watch because both of them got caught off guard.
Yeah.
I think
You think so?
Yeah, I think Grant had a message he wanted to say, and Jordan was like, listen, I'm in sales too. And they just kind of, I saw them kind of butt heads around the middle of the episode, and I felt like both of them got real there for a while that I'd never seen before. That was one of my favorite ones because there was a point where they were kind of being a little cantankerous under their breath, and I loved that. Yeah. Have you ever had something like that? Well, actually, I've seen you have stuff like that before, where somebody, like you said, somebody's trying to pitch you, or you have something where there's a adamant disagreement with somebody. Have you had that happen before?
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, I make it clear that I don't pander. Mm-hmm. So if I disagree with you, I mean, I'll nicely debate.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to say yes because you're a guest.
Right.
And a lot of people in some of the comments say, like, dude, like that's kind of rude. And then interrupting. A lot of people say, Brad, quit interrupting your guests. And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, number one, I'm having a conversation. And if you listen to real conversations, dude, they don't always allow me to stop and then you begin and then me, that's two people being polite. But if you sit there and bullshit with someone for long enough, you step on their sentences.
Yeah.
Like you could start something right now. Oh, no. Let me just remember. Oh, bullshit, dude. That is total bullshit.
Yeah.
And I won't let you get a word in. And, people are like, dude, let people finish their sentence, man. Yeah. But I don't mean to do that. It's just if I forget something, I should be taking notes. But if I forget something that I think is important, and I've tried it, like let them finish. But the next thing you know, we're talking about something else.
Yeah, you forget. Yeah. You had a great point. So when I had the Flat Earthers on here, they've done 200 interviews before pitching the Flat Earth thing, and I had a degree in astronomy, and I think I'm the first person and I had
You had a degree in astronomy.
So my minor was in astronomy, and I had a.
You said you had one though.
I have one.
Yeah, you have one.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, good.
So, no, I'm saying I was probably the first guy that they had as a guest who had some technical knowledge about this. And then I brought a theoretical physicist on with me and an F-18 pilot. So I had a pilot. I flew a KC-135 in the U.S. Air Force. And then I had
no shit?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I was a navigator in a KC-135. And then I had a theoretical physicist. So I figured we had all our bases covered. And I don't think when they would do things like me, like they would ask a question, and then I would start speaking, and they'd say like, "Hey, Michael, please stop interrupting us." And I was like, I'm like being gaslit on my own show, and because I'm trying to not be rude, I stopped talking. And then there's 1,700 comments, and about half of them are "Stop interrupting your guest, stop interrupting your guest." And I'm like, and I even put timestamps in there. This is where he asked me a question. Then literally when I start talking to him, he tells me I'm interrupting him. He does this 4 times during the episode, and it was one of these crazy things. And I'm like you, I'm like. Two people who are extroverted are just going to interrupt each other. Would never take something like that personally. And like you said before, sometimes there's dead air, and I got to keep talking.
Well, not only that, you have an opinion too.
Yes.
And I always tell people, dude, if you're not there to listen to me, well, then you shouldn't be there because that's who you're mainly going to listen to.
Yeah.
And then hopefully my guest is so interesting, I shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not interested, I forget that I'm getting information for people.
Yeah.
I just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's like, almost unfair for the audience because they just get to overhear my conversation.
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't go the direction they want. But I'm willing to work on it.
Yeah.
So again, just keep listening, keep giving feedback,
Hey, listen, you can interrupt me all you want, brother.
Well, I will if I need to.
Yeah. There we go.
Let me ask you this. The Flat Earthers. Now, has nobody told them that someone has gotten in a plane and went like that and ended up in the same spot?
Yeah, but it doesn't. They think what's happened is they think they're going in one direction, but they're actually running on a curve. It's hard to explain. So they believe that the Earth is on a flat sphere, on a circle, kind of like a circle, and the edge of the circle is Antarctica. So when you think you're going in one direction, what happens is you're just 90 degrees north, and so as you go 90 degrees north, you're actually going in a circle, and you aren't aware you're going in a circle. It's silly. Obviously, it's ridiculous. But the problem where their theories really break down is flying in the southern hemisphere. You wouldn't be able to fly from Africa to South Africa, or from South America to Africa in the southern hemisphere using their map because the distances would be too far. So they just deny that southern hemisphere flying either exists or they think that it's all supersonic, which we had an F-18 pilot here, and he was like, no, it's not. That's not possible to get a 747 to go that fast. So it was just stuff like that.
What about the moon landing?
They do not believe that the moon is a physical location where somebody could land anyway, so they don't believe in a moon landing. Like it's one of these things where they're so cynical. The idea of even getting to a moon landing.
Do you believe we landed on the moon?
I do. Listen, man. I am a retired U.S. Air Force officer with top secret clearance, and I can tell you we did land on the moon. Yeah.
So here's my question.
Okay.
when you see that footage,
Yes.
and you see that bullshit tinfoil, thin-legged contraption,
Okay, so which one? You're talking about the lander.
all of them.
Okay, so you understand.
There was nothing cool and sturdy looking about any of them.
Got it. So you.
And not only that, like when you see the thing taken off to go back home, how'd that camera relay that footage all the way back here that many years ago, and we can't even do it today?
Okay, so these are great questions, and I'm glad you're asking them. Okay, so the first thing is, do you remember? You probably never the book Principia by
No.
Isaac Newton. He wrote it in the 1680s, something like that. So basically, the idea is so the moon is 2% the Earth's mass, but because the moon is so much smaller, you're closer to the Earth center, the moon center of gravity. Therefore, you end up being about 1/6 the Earth's gravity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So right here, we're at 9.81 meters per second squared is the pull down. And so you would divide that by 6, and that's what you would get on the moon. So you don't need things that are very sturdy. In fact, it's very hard. If you don't want things that are very heavy because you want them to land light and take off light. Okay, that's the first thing. Also, you're going to believe under rocket propulsion. There's no jet engine up there because there's no atmosphere. So that's the first thing.
That makes sense.
Right. So you don't want something. And the other thing is, like, you can use carbon fiber. It's really strong, but it doesn't necessarily have to be heavy. So having a big, heavy structure out there would have been very bad for the moon landing. You want something that looks like a go-kart. That part made sense to me. As far as the tinfoil, what you're looking at is the external part that reflects the rays of the sun. So, for instance, if you ever look at the shielding on the front of the astronauts' helmets, it's made of gold. It's gold shielding. You'll never see Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong's face, because what happens is when we go outside here, we're under 60 miles of atmosphere, and at the top is O3, ozone, which breaks up through ultraviolet. It's what deflects the ultraviolet light, and then you see violet, you see blue all over the sky. That's the reason why the sky's blue. When you're on the surface of the moon, there is no atmosphere, so it's 200 degrees Fahrenheit, plus you're getting unfiltered like ultraviolet radiation. So everything has to be covered or protected from radiation. So a lot of times you're going to see like what looks like foil to protect the outer shield of certain parts of the lander and parts of the what are they called? Parts of the astronauts. And it's different for people at the STS, like the space station, because they're still in the Earth's magnetosphere, whereas when you're on the moon, you don't have that. You don't have that protection. So that's a part of it. And then the other thing is, like, it looks like a sound stage, right? It looks like a studio stage, the way the lighting goes, because you're used to sunlight we've never seen the sun. We see the sun refracted through the Earth's atmosphere. On the surface of the moon, you're seeing what the sun looks like. It is white. It is not this yellowish color that we have now, that we see on the planet of the Earth, or on planet Earth. So you're going to have these very like harsh shadows, and it's going to look like a studio light in a studio, but it is the moon. The reason why I know we landed on the moon is, in the astronomy department, you can go in there and you can shoot a laser at 9 different points where reflectors were put up there by different space administrations. The first one was Neil Armstrong, who I believe he has a PhD in engineering. And he was a professor at not Pepperdine, at the Boilermakers, Purdue. And so he put a reflector up there. If you shine a light at the reflector, you get a beam back in 2.2 seconds. That, to me, is proof that there's a man-made object up there. Also, the Indians and the Chinese have flown up there. They've flown orbiters around the moon, and they can actually take pictures of where the original lander was. So the thing is, like, you've grown up in a gravity well your whole life, and because you've lived in this gravity well, and because you've lived under 14 pounds of pressure per square inch of atmosphere, this is what you know to be the case. Like, this is what the world feels like to you. So on the moon, there's no pressure. You would bleed out of your eyeballs if you were up there, and you would freeze in like 2 seconds. It's very different. You'd make it about 15 seconds before you die. So it's because that.
Why would I freeze? You just said it was 200 degrees.
So it's crazy, right? So if I'm in a room that's 200 degrees, all sides of me are 200 degrees because I'm in atmosphere. If I'm there, literally one side of your body is freezing and the other side is 275 degrees or 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Does that make sense? The dark side of the moon is negative 200 all the time. So it's like because
there's no light.
Because there's no light. But we take for granted that at night it drops down to 50 degrees here in Las Vegas. But that's because we have an atmosphere that traps in heat. That's what greenhouse gases do. There is no atmosphere. There's like an extremely thin carbon dioxide atmosphere that's even smaller than the one they have on the surface of Mars. And so there's nothing. You're basically just sitting there in a complete vacuum. There's another reason why I know we landed on the moon. There's a picture when we're landing.
You were waiting for this question.
Yeah, no, I did 3.5 hours with flat earthers.
You were waiting for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you told me you didn't believe in the moon
How do you
landing.
explain the polyunsaturated hydrocarbons that flow through the medulla oblongata?
I don't know about that one, but does that have something to do with the moon landing?
No.
Okay, so you're talking about, is this DMT stuff that we're talking about?
I'm just throwing out some words.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's one other thing why I believe in the moon landing, like irrefutably. There is a point where Armstrong is about to land, and there's a camera that's pointing down, and you see the sand come out, and it's in these ripples.
Yeah.
That's only possible in a vacuum. If you took a blow dryer and you push it on sand, you're going to get flat, like almost like a dispersion, like an even dispersion of the sand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you do this and there is no air pressure, you're going to get ripples, and that's what you see in the video. That is only possible in a vacuum. There's no way to fake that. And in 1969, there's certainly no way to fake it. So unless they had a vacuum chamber that was the size of this entire building, which is impossible, we don't even have one like that today, then I don't think that part is fake. And then the other part about how come we can't do it now? We know how to do it now. Here's the question you should ask yourself. Is Ford capable of making a 1965 Shelby today?
Yes.
Right. But do they?
No.
Right. So is NASA capable of making a Saturn V rocket today? Yes. But do they? No. That's essentially what it is.
Well, the question is why? Why don't they go to the moon?
Because it just costs too much. So Nixon had the choice.
Costs too much.
Yeah. So
they can just print trillions of dollars whenever they want. We already know that.
Yeah, but they still have to answer for it. So here's the issue, right? So what happened was after I want to say Apollo, I can't remember which ones, in 17, 18, 19, the last Apollo mission was the U.S. and the Soyuz capsule and the Apollo capsule joining together. I think that was the very last one. They didn't go to the moon. After that, Bill was put in front of Richard Nixon, and it was, do we go to Mars or do we start the STS program? And he chose the STS program, which are the space shuttles that you saw that do low Earth orbit. And so we stopped going to the moon. It's not one of these things where you just go you go into low Earth orbit and then you just keep pushing up and go to the moon. Going to the moon is like packing a backpack to walk down the street is like going to low Earth orbit, and then going to the moon is like literally a caravan of 18-wheelers driving across Siberia. It's like completely different orders of magnitude the more energy you have to use in order to get to the moon, because you're leaving the Earth's gravity well. That's what makes it so difficult. So I think a lot of people just think space is space is space, and if you just float long enough, you get to Mars. It doesn't work like that. You need massive amounts of propulsion and life support in order to do something like that, and then you get into serious problems with radiation once you get outside the Earth's magnetosphere. So those are part of the reasons why stuff like that happens.
What about when you see the videos of Neil not wanting to swear on a Bible?
I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. What if Neil? I don't know what Neil.
I'm not saying that that's proof.
Yeah, I don't.
Dude, like I said, I just don't buy it. But your explanations make sense enough to where, I could probably buy it now. But the only thing that made me not buy it, because again, maybe they took that out of context.
Yeah.
The part I didn't really buy is a pile of shit, flimsy looking pile of shit. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
those moon machines. They're garbage. They're thin. They're like these poles.
Yeah.
They don't look sturdy. But you explained it. There's no gravity, so it needs to be light and free. And maybe it was carbon fiber. It didn't look like it.
Yeah. If you really wanted to do some damage to that lander, you could have, and they knew that when they were in there. You're just in a pocket of air. Like that thing you're just in a bubble. You're floating.
It looked a little flimsy, did it not?
And they knew it was flimsy. They talk about this frequently. I am a couple of centimeters away from hard vacuum and death. He talks about that. That's why. I would recommend people read Neil Armstrong's biography, because one of the things that's happened is because of the cynicism, we have sort of lost sight of the fact of how incredible this man is. Like, he was a generational human being. There was a point where they had 80 seconds to land. They had picked a spot to land. He chooses to not land in this place because there's a crater where he doesn't want to be in. And so he has to choose another place, and there's no go around. At this point, Buzz Aldrin's calling out the amount of fuel they have left, and his heart rate does not go above 83. Like we pick the right human being with the degree in engineering, who was a Navy pilot, who literally could deal with anything. He had lost a daughter to cancer. This man had overcome so much, and we just when they said the right stuff, they literally were talking about Neil Armstrong, and we don't celebrate him enough. We really don't understand how incredible this man was.
Can you tell this guy got a degree in astronomy?
Well, I actually have a business degree. My minor's in astronomy, but yeah, that was. I just feel like that's one of the things where, because we're so cynical, we just sort of like take him for granted. On like, there are a million different outcomes where they crash on the moon and their bodies are still there. There's a million different outcomes where this goes horribly wrong, but the first guy to do it, getting it right the first time, is just like the probability of that happening is not very high. So,
do you believe in aliens?
I do. They're just not coming here. They're just too far away.
But do you believe in them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inescapable.
Do you believe they can come here?
No, it would be something would have to come here that was not biological, or you'd have to have what's like a generational ship, where like you have a ship that's so big that people would live out their entire lives on the ship, and then their great grandkids would get here, simply because it's 4.1 light years to the nearest star, which is Proxima Centauri. So that's 24 trillion miles away. So you'd have to be moving at some high fraction, some notable fraction of c, which is the speed of light. 100. Which
but see now you're doing the same thing I was doing. Mm-hmm. You're making some assumptions.
Oh, so the assumption would be that they're made of matter and they're
like us, and our logic matches and our capabilities match.
Well,
what if 24 trillion is 30 seconds to them?
Then they can go faster than light.
Yeah.
Then they're not made of matter according to our laws of physics.
That's right.
But
doesn't mean they're not.
But here's the thing, Brett. When we view the entire galaxy, we see that the laws of physics are ubiquitous. And so because we see that, because we don't look in
from ours only.
Well, here's the thing. If I look at other stars, I can see from spectroscopy that this star is made of hydrogen, oxygen, methane, or whatever. I can see that.
How?
Spectroscopy, what it does is I can look at light and I can actually see where the electrons block out part of the spectrum, and I can actually tell what the star is made out of.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we ever been to a star to verify?
No.
Could we be wrong?
We could, but we use the same spectroscopy on Sol, and we can say that we're right. So
on Sol what? Korea?
Sol is the name of your star. Yeah. So our sun is called Sol. Our planet Earth is called Terra. The moon is called Luna. That's the lunar gravity and the Terran surface. That's why we're called.
The Earth is terrain.
Yes, correct. Terra, exactly.
Interesting, dude. You definitely got the astronomy down,
dude. If you ever want to talk about this for a while, we can.
I don't.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
I'm messing with you.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me, but to me, I wouldn't argue it because I don't know, and I don't argue unless I know.
Yeah,
like if you bring up something I know and I disagree, then we'd have a spicy episode. But I'm not arguing with you because I don't know, but it just seems like a flimsy ass thing. And you start going down those rabbit holes and seeing those videos where it's like, hey, look, there's a shadow and a guy walks by with a Diet Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think, is it possible? But flat Earth, I don't necessarily think that's possible. Like, you got to be. And they exist, flat earthers, and they're convinced.
Right now, it's like 4% of millennials believe
and they're convinced. Yeah,
it's insane that that's grown like that. I will tell you this: do you ever go to Washington D.C.? You ever have a reason to go there? Okay, go to the Smithsonian and take a look at the lander yourself. Just see if you can put your or other landers, because remember we went up there 6 times.
Yeah.
When you touch it, you're dealing with a very, very tough made device that just looks.
You've
flimsy.
touched it.
I haven't touched it, but I've been. Oh, actually, no, I have been. There's a natural history museum in Los Angeles, and I actually have touched one of the landers there.
Because I'm surprised they let you touch it.
Yeah, I mean, this one may have been a mock-up, and I do remember the controls were all covered in plastic. But yeah, they'll let you. You can go in there. It's a solid piece. It's a solid structure. It is. It's just one of these things where it doesn't look like a Ford truck. You know what I'm saying? We have, when we think about commercial things here on like this table, it's just 3 inches thick. We know what wood sounds like and what it looks like. We're doing things. We have to do things outside of normal engineering whenever we fly to space.
If anybody's interested and you want to debate, Mr. Sartain, hit up the show
for sure.
I want to hear that debate too, because I want Neil deGrasse here. But he probably agrees with you.
Yeah, no, Neil deGrasse Tyson, hopefully I'll have him on. But we actually have a round 2 with the Flat Earthers coming up. They have more Flat Earthers coming up.
What episode was that? I got to go watch it.
I'll send it to you. I got to go back and look. But it's 1,700 comments of Flat Earthers just calling me a piece of trash because I thought the Earth was round. It's really crazy when you watch it. Like, they are like a cult.
Well, I mean, we don't want to get this episode suppressed, but there's current conversations very similar.
Yeah, so we talk about...
There's divisive... opinions.
You can say whatever you want, and I'll blank it out if you're worried about that. Like
I'm not.
We talk.
Show.
Yeah, we talk about sometimes, and I blank out the word. I just don't say it because that does get people in trouble. And the flat earthers believe this was faked. They think that those people were all actors. A shooting up in the Northeast. You guys can figure out which one it is. So stuff like that. That we'll have
like masks.
Yeah,
no
masks. Right, mask and no mask. We've had that discussion before. Bilzerian was on here talking about it, and that we didn't have a problem with that.
Is this where he got the audio clip that's going around that says, the reason I get so much top tier pussies because how I set up my life?
Yeah, that was from the book, yeah.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, he wrote a book called The Setup, and I talked to him about that. I've been to a lot
But that
of
clip
parties.
was from this show?
No, the clip, the top tier pussy
You
one.
know the
was
one I'm
from,
talking about?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to remember which one that was from, but he just did he did a series of interviews.
Dude, it's all over TikTok.
Yeah, that one's big. I have several that have gotten 100,000 views from his episode. I posted 10 TikToks just from his episode because he says so much. Dude, he had a pistol. He had a 45 caliber pistol. He brought into the win one time, and he was with this guy Sam Majid who had won $10 million off playing poker. And Sam's trying to get cocaine out of this can. He can't get cocaine out, so he takes Bilzerian's gun. He's about to shoot it, or he throws the coke can full of coke first. And it bounces off the wall, almost hits Paris Hilton in the head. Paris Hilton's in the room too. And then Bilzerian is like, the guy's about to shoot it, and then he pulls the gun out of his hand. He's got $750,000 in cash in a bag. He's got a bunch of cocaine. He's got a firearm in a casino. He's like, how would this have ended? Like, this would have been, my life would have changed significantly had this guy gotten a shot off. But he tells crazy stories. Dude, midget fucking 2 girls in his front bathroom. The stories are just madness. But he does talk a lot about setting up his life to where he continually gets whatever it is he wants. He had a casting for Ignite yesterday. There's probably 70 girls at his house last night. No dudes.
Everyone's, not everyone, but you read places that he's going broke. Is that true?
No, what happened was his first couple years. This is Dan's narrative, and I've checked. I trade for a living. I work for a fund, and you can look up the earnings reports for BLIZ. I believe is the ticker symbol, and it's on the Canadian Stock Exchange for Ignite. And if you look there, you'll see that he had some losing months, but that's because they were trying to expand growth, and also they had to pivot from marijuana back into nicotine. So now his main source of income, or the main revenue that Ignite generates, is from vapes.
Now you see how the bullshit and the haters can get away.
Bro, they're coming after me. Yeah. They're coming after me like crazy.
What are they saying?
For me, it's so I have a lot of female girls. I have a lot of girls on here, and some of them do porn on OnlyFans. And I say sometimes I'll say things like I think it's unfair that Instagram built their entire platform off of you, and then now they ban all of you. I think that's bullshit. And I get called a simp for that all the time. The flat earthers come after me frequently. I have people that, because I've had Bilzerian and Vegas Dave on, the guys who, the Vegas Dave guys are all people who are selling their own picks, and they call Vegas Dave a scam over and over again. I get that one a lot. And then people come after me for that. There's a few other people that I've had on. I'm going to have Karen Bruton on. She managed a $300 million hedge fund and got an SEC complaint. And there's a lot of people who are from traditional finance who hate this woman because she made so much money as a retail trader and kind of embarrassed them. And then when she got an SEC complaint, they're like, aha, see, told you. And so a lot of times for me, because I give people controversial people a platform to speak, I get a lot of haters from that. Yep. And then there's just in general, because I host bikini competitions, people just think I'm a moron and, or Babes in Toyland or whatever. I use, and I tell the women this, I use extremely attractive women in order to raise money for charity. That's what Babes in Toyland is. That's what Smash Global is. That's what we do with Swimsuit USA. That's what we do at Paradise Challenge. That's all these different events. And I have no shame when it comes to that. I think that women have a superpower. Yeah, I think Lindsay Palis has a superpower. She walks to your event, you can raise another $100,000 for a dog rescue or for a domestic abuse charity, and you should not be ashamed of that. But I get criticized for that a lot too.
Do you listen to it?
No. I do find myself commenting back sometimes, and I know I need to stop. But
does it bother you?
It did at first. I think now it's gotten to the point where I've come to the realization when his name is user68743 and he has no avatar. I'm like, this is a guy in his mom's basement, and I really got to just not worry about it so much. I think the thing that's crazy to me, and I'm sure, has this ever happened to you? I was going to ask you about this, where people come up and talk to you because they've watched a bunch of your episodes, and they're talking to you like they know you and they think you know them because they've been watching you speak for so long. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
That happens to me. That's been happening to me a lot recently since the podcast, and I think it's one of the craziest things, but it's a blessing because I had to listen to Ty Lopez was actually the first person who talked to me about this. He said, "You think you want to be famous?" He's like, "You have no idea like the criticism that I get from people from all the stuff that I do." And I was like, I didn't understand, and I'm nowhere near as popular as you or Ty Lopez. And the criticism I'm already getting, I can see how if you do not have a constitution, like for me, I was in the military for 7 years. That helped a lot for now when I get into this situation, understanding what's important, separating that from what's important from what's not important. Yeah.
I don't get much.
Mm-hmm.
I always heard, especially from Grant, if you don't get a lot of hates because you're not doing anything big enough, which I tend to believe, but I would just expect more than I get, but I don't really get as much as I would expect. when I had Jordan Belfort on, I had people bitching, he's a freaking rat and a freaking criminal. Vegas Dave, you got the shit talker.
Yeah.
But I don't take that as me. It's them.
Yeah, I feel sometimes the same way. I think the other thing with you, Brad, is because you've been doing this for a while, your narrative, like, I feel like people are critical of Joe Rogan, but they can't be too critical of him because he gets 3 hours to respond every day. And so the narrative can't go too far off base. And I think the same thing with you. I think because you do an episode so frequently, people can't start calling you right wing or left wing or bigoted or whatever. You have there's too much evidence that you have to prove who you are as a person, right? It's almost like some person in the media talking shit about Michael Jordan and he dropped 70 on him. It's like, oh, keep talking shit if you want, but like you look like a moron. It's that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. It's a good point.
So I think because before people really, you obviously have a huge following. Before you even had a huge following, you already were controlling the narrative with dropping bombs. And so because of dropping bombs, nobody can control your narrative. There's too many hours of you speaking for somebody to try to control your narrative, to try to speculate.
It's a good point why people listening should, start their own brand and start doing exactly that, because that is a good point I've never considered. Makes me want to get out and do more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I reached out to you. I mean, your brand is for those of you who are watching, you want to pause and go check out his reels on Instagram. They're fantastic. You do the low depth bokeh thing that you do. Sometimes you have a cigar. Sometimes you're looking in the camera, looking away. The tricks that they do with the lighting. Is it Ed who's doing these?
Ed captures a lot.
Yeah, Ed captures.
Eduardo.
They're terrific. I think those are great. It looks like they're quick. That you have a point. You have the subtitles. This is really, really good content. And for me, I was listening to your podcast, trying to come up with topics, and then I listened to all those clips that you had were like 30 seconds, a minute long, and I was like, these are the things that he's passionate about, fascinated, and it was easier for me to find things that way. And speaking of building a brand, a friend of ours, Dan Fleyshman, who we mentioned before, he had a question for you. He wanted to know, why are people so scared to sell?
It's funny because every time he does a panel, he asks me that.
Yeah.
I think he wants everyone to hear my answer to that.
Yes.
Because he already knows, so he's not asking for his own knowledge.
Yeah.
But again, people are afraid to sell usually because they're afraid of rejection, and they're afraid of rejection because they're worried about other people's opinions, and that's mainly because they don't have a good enough relationship with themselves.
Yeah. I've had an issue not really selling, but the actual asking for money. This was like an imposter syndrome problem that I had. Man, I just felt like it changed.
You don't value yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's something I've had because the salespeople in my company now have kind of like beaten it out of me. But it was one of these situations where I was like, nah, I just want to be friends with all these people I'm helping. I can't ask them for money. And then it's not genuine, And then.
Well, you don't respect your time or yourself, one of the two.
One thing I found is that when I did ask for money and then they paid me, then all of a sudden their investment, they had skin in the game, and their investment in their own self-improvement increased.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, because I used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if you want my time, my question is, in exchange for what? So if you just walk around and tell people, in exchange for what? There'll be everyone and their dog saying, dude, that's rude, that's arrogant, that's, why is that arrogant? You want to invest your time, not waste your time. Yes. So there should be a return on investment. Anytime you make an investment, there should be a return. So do you want to waste your time or do you want to invest your time?
Yeah.
Well, people are like, well, naturally, I want to invest it. Good. Well, then you should expect a return. And it's not rude to do that.
Yeah.
So when someone says, how much is it? That's another thing people do. They think in their head, what's it worth to them? So if you said, Brad, I want to pick your brain, man. How much for an hour of your time? And I say to you, $5,000. Well, that's what I think I'm worth for an hour. Why didn't I say 50? Why didn't I say 500? Why didn't I get real smart and find out what is it worth to you? Because again, I mean, why do you want to meet with me? First of all, turns out I'd make you $100 million. Well, then $10 million for an hour of my time would be worth it.
Right.
So people don't value themselves enough.
Yeah. I mean, you love playing quarterback, right? And you think you do it for free, and then you find out the football team you play for makes $7 billion a year, and you're just asking for $40 million. It doesn't seem like it's that much. But that makes sense.
But building a brand, I think if someone's listening to this, building a brand is something anyone can do.
Yeah.
And most don't. And the same answer is why they don't sell, because they're afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
You're afraid if you put yourself out there and someone doesn't like you, you're screwed. And that's just not true. So I would highly recommend everyone build a personal brand.
I think the thing that helped me was the belief in my product. I think when I started doing testimonials and then hearing my clients be like, man, your product changed my life, 10 out of 10. I ask them, what's the ROI? They're like, it's 100X. I have 210 clients and we're coming up on 100 testimonials just because I'm going to get testimonials from almost every single person. And
clients for what?
I have a Men of Action mentoring program that I teach. It's entrepreneurship, leadership, mindset, and then social networking.
Well, you should come on my podcast, dude.
Absolutely. I would love to.
You'll get a shit ton of customers.
Of course I'll come on your podcast. Definitely.
I got entrepreneurs following me that, like, you know, not everybody, but because I don't pitch you, but I display you.
Yeah.
And if it resonates, man, I get customers coming on my podcast going, not customers, but guests going, dude, I've been on some big podcasts and I've never had my fucking phone light up like that.
Because you're niche, because you talk about this, we're skipping ahead. You want to get people out of the rat race.
Yeah.
And so because of that, now we have a niche audience that's looking for that. And so when a guy comes on and he speaks that language, then I would imagine going on your podcast, I'd get more clients than even like going on the Nelk Boys or something like that, because that's the clientele that you have.
Yeah. Well, I think what allowed me to do it is building that brand. So folks, it's important to build a brand. Now, when you say you go on my social media and all these techniques, like I am not aware of any of those techniques you just said. So what was he saying? Do you even know what he was talking about?
You were shooting
down shots.
Yeah. So the bokeh behind him. So you were
what bokeh?
So bokeh. So for instance, and I don't know if you're doing this with that camera, but it's blurry behind you, and because the f-stop is down below 2.8 or something like that. Yeah. You're doing that.
The lower the better.
What are you shooting at? Like 1.4? Huh? Right now you're at 4, but when you do those reels, are you at 4 or are you lower than that? You go 1.4. All right, so that's like a real fast lens. So that was the first thing. I used to be a videographer. I used to work at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, but that's not what makes it good.
No, I know that, but
that's not what makes it good.
Your content is what makes it good.
Yeah, but like that's cool, but that ain't what makes this fucking show good.
Right.
1.4 ain't the trick.
Yeah.
Like that's not a trick.
Yeah.
Do you know what the trick is?
I think you're genuine. I think that's what the trick is.
Well, that's the key, but when I say this, I think it'll make better sense. You see me being me.
Yeah.
You don't see me creating content. I'm not trying to think up what do people want to hear or should hear or I think they should hear.
Yeah.
Somebody is usually him or somebody that's out there talking with me. Ask those questions. And I'm giving them my real answer. I'm talking to an employee. I'm talking to a customer. I'm talking to him. I'm talking to somebody. And then what you see is me doing that. So that, I think, is the key. And people want to see you, dude. They don't want to, hear you preach.
Yeah.
They want to hear you be you.
Yeah.
So if you had a camera guy follow you to lunch and like you really don't care that camera's there, you say whatever the fuck you'd say if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's me. So like I'll say the same shit whether the camera's there or not, and I a lot of times forget the camera's even there. And I think if everyone is willing to do that, they would start getting a lot of reaction and a lot more followers. And that's the brand building, steps that I'd recommend. You got to have a source. Like my source, this, believe it or not, that's why I brought him. Like this is a source.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, what should I do and what should I say? I'm just doing this. Hopefully the team that he uploads this to will say, oh, that was good. That was funny. That's a good clip. And this ends up on social media. I don't know what ends up on social media.
Yeah. You have a team that does all that.
Well, dude, I just be me all day and I capture it. And that's the secret. That's what people should understand. Like, just go be you and capture it. As Gary Vee says, document. Yeah. Don't create. And that, now that I'm doing it, because it didn't always happen that way. I was creating. I was trying to think, what should I say? And, what do people need to hear? And like, I got a little bit, but it wasn't very much traction. And then one day I had to make content. I was on a schedule, make content day. And the dude, it wasn't him, it was a dude named Sebastian. He just kept pestering me because I technically needed to do it. And so finally I just got pissed off and I said, Sebastian, turn the fucking camera on and just film me being me.
Yes.
And if they can't find anything out of that, well then fucking I don't want to do this. I was pissed.
Yeah.
And so he turned it on, and the whole day I was talking to an employee, I was talking to a customer, I was handling this problem, handling that problem. And they just sent him he just uploaded that footage. And they went into the footage, started watching the footage, and apparently the editors were just rolling on the ground laughing at what I was saying to this person. And, and so they called me and they said, dude, whatever you did yesterday, just keep doing it. Yeah. And I said, I didn't do anything yesterday. They said, well, just keep doing whatever the fuck you did. I said, all I did was told the camera to just be on.
Yeah.
And I always tell Eduardo that camera's worthless unless it's on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll say something and I'll look over, he ain't there. Motherfucker needs a lunch sometimes or something. But
Eduardo has to pee sometimes.
Yeah, but the camera's not on, and I'm like, damn, dude, that was good. That would have made the freaking highlight reel for sure. But I don't pick. I just go do what I do, say what I say, and I think that is why people always say, dude, you're just so real. Well, that's why. And more importantly, I don't care about people not liking what I say.
Yeah.
Because I like what I say.
That answers so many questions, because there are so many reels that you have where contextually I don't know where you are or what you're doing, and now that you explain that you're talking to your employees, it completely makes sense.
Or client, or wife, or anybody. Like, it's all day me being me. People are like, why you always have a cigar? Well, because those fucking things take an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of time. So I'm smoking a cigar and I'm like, dude, ask me some questions. Grab somebody. They want to talk to me. Come on out here. What do you want to talk about? Why? Because I got to do something.
Yeah.
So I just talk to people while I'm smoking my cigar.
Yeah, I saw that also. And then the other thing is you were answering questions. Like some of the questions were coming online.
Yeah.
And that made for really great content just for you to be you. So I thought that was a great example if somebody wants to make content quickly or consecutively. What you were doing I thought was awesome. For me, I take these videos, sometimes they're 3 hours, and I split them up in chapters. I see you guys do that too for your YouTube channel, and then I put asterisks next to the ones I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. I go to the gym, I shoot free throws. I shoot free throws while listening to the podcast at double speed. When I go to it and then I get to a point, I stop and I dictate 0:004, whatever the timestamp, and then I say whatever the thing is, and I'll put an asterisk in front of the really good ones. Then I go back and I make TikTok clips for weeks after that. That's how I've been doing it. But I do it all myself, yeah. And it's really good. Well, I also have to do it myself because
anything else other than that?
What do you mean?
Like, this is a source. What other sources do you have?
For me, it's the events I throw. So Babes in Toyland, I have like I said, if you go on right now, Maximo TV, there's probably 250 interviews that I've done on different red carpets from everybody like Paris Hilton. And,
you do the same with that footage.
Yeah, it's a little different with that. That's a little bit more produced because we put an intro and an outro. And then other than that, it's IG story. I post maybe sometimes between 20 and 100 times a day on IG story.
Wow.
And it'll be just me out with a bunch of people. I'm not dumb. I know a lot of people come to my social media just for the girls, just because I have
a bunch of girls.
Every huge model. Yeah, that's on my IG. And so that's the main reason why people come on. But I think a lot of people are very surprised when they come on when they listen to my show and I'm sitting there talking about quantum mechanics for 3 hours and 47 minutes. They're like, wait, I thought this was the guy who hosted Swimsuit USA, And so I try to do both. For me, it was just like a shortcut. Like, what do I want? I love being around like a ton of beautiful women. So let me just do things that are doing that. And so here's one of the things people don't think about. How about throwing a charity for domestic abuse and human trafficking? Those things mean a lot to me because some of my closest friends are women who've been abused. It's not one of these things. I don't need to be Hugh Hefner. I want to, but I love I love being around really successful men and women, and I love being around really beautiful women. It's just something I enjoy doing. So if I'm going to do that, let's do it and then raise a bunch of money for charity. You know what I'm saying? And I don't apologize for that.
Are you married?
I'm not. No, we're maybe when I'm 60, I'll give it a shot. No, not married.
That's a good position to be in.
Yeah, I mean, is it?
Well, I mean, if that's what you like, because if I told my wife, hey, I just like being around really, really beautiful women, she'd be like, pass.
Yeah, it's rough.
She'd be pissed. She wouldn't be pissed, actually. I shouldn't say that. She's pretty trusting. But dude, I was thinking while you're saying that, what dude doesn't want to be around a bunch of women? You got the dream life, and Hugh's gone now, so there needs to be a new one.
Right.
Maybe you become the new Hugh.
I think I'd
say Bilzerian's the new Hugh.
I would say he's the Hugh. There's some things that Hugh Hefner did that I wouldn't do, but I do. I think he was a visionary. But you've seen some of the criticisms that's happened of him. He somewhat controlling with some of the girls. If you read, and by the way, there's two sides to every story. I don't know.
That's why I don't listen to this shit.
Yeah.
Because, dude, you don't know.
I don't know. You don't know. It's tough. I don't know. I don't want to stick my foot in this. I haven't even watched the documentary. I've read his biography. I've been to the Playboy Mansion several times. It's tough to say. I know a lot of girls who are.
Is it old? Does it stink?
It doesn't stink, but it is when you're there. It's very apparent you're in a house that was built in the 1920s, I believe. It's just this L-shaped house. I didn't feel it was musty at all. It was a beautiful house. I mean, it's like you recognize things. I think it was a little scary that they had live monkeys on the property. There's some wildlife
Loose?
there. No, they weren't loose, but like they could get loose. There was a couple things where I thought that was kind of crazy. The grotto is crazy. I just remember the first time being there and watching two people start having sex in the grotto. And then security guard went up to him and they were like, and I thought the security guard was just going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And he was like, hey, could you guys move in just a little bit closer into
what's the grotto for if it wasn't?
Yeah, for sure. I saw women dragging their boyfriends if you go into the game room at the Playboy mansion, there's 2 bedrooms that are like hidden behind wall panels. And you can go in there and people hook up just so they can say that they did it. It's one of the craziest things. And I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure you probably experienced this before. If you're in a place that's really hard to get into, a conference that's extremely expensive or on stage at a very, very popular nightclub or concert, everyone is nice to you because they don't know how the fuck you got up there. And you must have done something right in order to get up there. I've never had people be nicer to me in my life than when I was at the Playboy Mansion or if I was at Dan Bilzerian's house for a night party. I've never had people be so nice to me. And it's not because they know who I am. It's sort of like, he's got to be somebody if he's here. Do you understand? And that's one of the keys I found in networking is access. If you can get access to some of those points, just people are so much more receptive to me. Me speaking at elevator nights actually makes it easier for me to network with the other people at elevator nights than me attending elevator nights. Yeah. Makes sense? Obviously, with you, that's why I invited you on because I saw you speaking before me. So
what did I speak about?
Sales. It was the exact same question. And because I looked on your website and you talk about closing, being a closer as far as sales is concerned, definitely a weakness for me. Speaking is not the weakness, but
closing's easy, dude. You want me to teach you in 5 seconds?
Let's do it.
Okay, obviously when someone says no, that's the objection.
Yes.
They're not moving forward.
Yeah.
A closer gets someone to move from a no to a yes.
Yeah.
It's not a sale. Some people think, I made that deal. Damn, I closed him. You didn't close him. You sold it.
Yeah.
There's salespeople, and then there's closers. Now, the closer, by my definition only, because there's some people out there might not agree, is when they get you from a no to a yes. So if you're saying no, all I have to do is identify and isolate the objection.
Yeah.
And I do that by creating a hypothetical solution and then get you to say yes. Then I use logic to solve the problem. So give you an example. My wife's not here. That's the objection. Salespeople hear that all the time.
Yeah.
My wife's not here. So first thing you do is identify and isolate by creating a hypothetical solution. Give me a hypothetical solution that would solve the problem my wife's not here.
FaceTime.
Or what if she was here?
Yeah.
Or what if she was here right now and she told you to pull the trigger?
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Right? And then I go, well then unless I say yes, that's not the real objection. And that's the problem. Everyone tries to close on objections that aren't real. You say, move forward? I say, no, I get my wife. And then you try to close that, and it's not my wife. But to identify and isolate the objection, and then use logic. Now you sell everybody everything. But here's the key. Don't try to sell anybody anything.
Yeah. Try
to help them. Then you become a badass salesperson, top-notch salesperson. And you're not even a salesperson. You're a help person.
That's great, man. Ryan Stewman mentioned something about we talked specifically about handling objections, but yeah. So a closer is someone who can handle the objections. That specifically goes from a no to a yes, right? If you get somebody who's ready to sell, that's just selling, right? And then was it Jordan Belfort said, "Hey, sell me this pen." Hey, excuse me, ma'am, are you looking for a pen right now? Are you in the market for a pen? So it's interesting. So that's what you do. You would create a hypothetical and then lead them through compliance back to...
No, you identify and isolate the objection.
Okay.
By using a hypothetical, and then you get them to say yes, because if they don't say yes, it's not real. So you repeat that until you get a yes, which means you moved them from a no to a yes.
Any yes. But in this case,
they got to say yes. If they don't say yes, you're not done. So why aren't you moving forward? Watch, I'll show you. Give me any reason in the world. Why aren't you moving forward with this deal?
Which deal?
The deal we're role playing here.
Oh, role play. I'm not moving forward, man, because I feel like some of my salespeople are lazy, or I don't know, man. I just feel like I'm not motivated sometimes. And we're making enough money, and I don't know if I want to.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to do it hypothetically. Yeah. I won't say hypothetically, but so if that weren't the case, you'd move forward.
Yeah, man, I think so. Yeah, I think I would.
What else would stop you?
I don't know, man. Maybe fear. Fear of the unknown. I don't know how to. I get
So
it
if you
over
were
my head.
certain, would you move forward?
Yeah, man. If I was certain and I knew everything, for sure.
You'd move forward.
Yeah.
See, now I just got you to say yes.
Yes.
So now there's the problem I have to solve. Now I use logic to solve it. And all problems are not solvable, folks, which means all deals aren't closable. But I'm going to close a lot more of them because I identified and isolated the objection by getting you to say yes. And now I use logic, which stands for leverage, obvious gain, intelligence, and common sense. I just leverage the obvious gain of you to, buy my shit by using intelligence and common sense. And if I can't close the deal, officially close the deal, which means consummate the deal, it may be because it's not a closable deal, or I didn't solve the problem for you.
Okay.
Like FaceTime your wife, that would have solved the problem. So if I said I got to get my wife, and you said let's FaceTime her, and I went, okay, because guess what? That was the problem. So now that does solve the problem. Then the wife says, yeah, go ahead and buy it. You close the deal. You identified and isolated the objection. And then you freaking solved it with logic. But that's why I said no when you said that, because that's solving it. That's not identifying it. You have to identify it first. Now, if you think like this and you practice, you got to practice role play with people. And you'll start to realize that it's just a move. Like if you're into mixed martial arts and someone, wants to put you in some sort of arm bar, there's a way to do it. And there's a way to protect yourself from getting put in those. That's why you hear the commentators, oh, he's doing the triple crab pose. You better move that hip. Like, I don't know what they're doing because I'm not a mixed martial artist, but it's just a move. All mixed martial artists will know that move. They'll all be able to get out of that move because it's just a technique and a move. Yeah. Same thing with dancing. You go to a dance competition, you'll say, oh, that's the waltz. Oh, that's the mamba, because you understand that's what those are. In sales, it's the same thing. So from now on, anytime someone says, do you sell anything? You have to sell something.
Sometimes I have a team. I usually just push them to a page with the VSL, and then they go through there. What I'll do is I have them, they'll come on a free call, and my calls are 3-4 hours long. I go through every single question. I'll have sometimes 70, 80 guys on there. And then by the end, I'll be like, listen, and I tell the guys a lot. Like,
so you do the takeaway.
Yeah, I tell these guys, listen, this is not going to work for a lot of you. I make you work really fucking hard. Several of my clients will cry. I'm a former U.S. military officer. If you want to become a victim, this is not going to work for you. You're welcome to stay on these free calls, but a lot of this isn't going to work. And
that's selling, by the way.
Yeah, that's and I true. The thing, what makes that easier though? I believe it.
Yeah.
I have helped so many dudes. I've had dudes come up to me at some of my events crying, and they were just like, dude, I can't believe how much you've changed my life. I was sitting, living with my parents, and I had nothing going on. And now my network, not only am I dating a huge Instagram model, but like I have a job because of the network that you've given me. And to just have one dude fractured like several vertebrae in his neck, was going to die. Now he's just like, he's throwing these huge events, taking big groups of girls to Mykonos, and he's got a new job where he's making like $15,000 per account or whatever. And I'm just like, and I almost want to cry because of the changes, the things that I learned from, failing and succeeding at business, and then also being a U.S. military officer. Because the thing that I saw was that there were two problems that weren't being solved in the self-help community. The first one, the only person that I really felt like was attacking this was Jocko Willink, and that was leadership. Jocko was attacking the leadership thing. And a lot of people loved Jocko, but weren't really listening to what he's saying. But I think Jocko is the greatest, right? Because he's a former U.S. Navy officer, and I'm a former U.S. Air Force officer. So a lot of things he said really spoke to me. And I was like, this self-help community is push button, make money. And I was like, no, we need to be a leader also. I need to be accountable. When things go wrong, it is my fault because I'm the boss. It does not make any difference. If it is actually my fault, it is still my fault. Extreme ownership. And so I saw that was one place where people were severely lacking in this whole area. And the other one was, it had to do with the fact that the majority of people in self-help are men. And they saw women in general as as sort of like an obstacle or the enemy. Mm-hmm. And I really, really, really recommend to men, when it comes to networking and when it comes to dating, when it comes to everything else, to have as many female friends as possible. They calibrate you. They get you invited. I get invited to everything, Brad, because of all my female friends. They introduced me to other people. That's how I met Dan Fleyshman. I met Dan Fleyshman through Marcella, who runs one of her charities, she came to one of my charities, one of my influencer charities. And so that was the other thing. I was like, become comfortable with being in a room with an incredibly beautiful woman and not having the necessity to own her or act different or weird. And I use the analogy, I play quarterback, she's the wide receiver, we're teammates. We're on the same team, working towards the same goal. My voice inflection doesn't change, and I don't put on a different persona because she's beautiful. And I think that's why a lot of the girls, like some of the larger models who I'm friends with, more popular models, I think that's the reason why they're friends with me, because I don't treat them any different than the guys I played high school football with or the crew that I used to fly over Iraq with. Treat them exactly the same. And I think that those were the two areas where I saw a hole, and then I attacked that area. That make sense?
Yeah, and it's smart. Again, it's effective. Let's put it that way.
It is, man. We went from, I think we had 40 clients a couple months ago, and we have 210 now. So I think it's going pretty well. I'm excited about how well it's growing, to the point where sometimes I get imposter syndrome. And I'm like, man, I can't believe this is going so fast. And this podcast is part of the program, sort of like the guys asked me who they want. They wanted to see you. They wanted to see Dan. I'm going out. I'm reaching out to different people to try to get them to come on here. I think, like you said about building a brand, the brand also lets you network.
Yeah,
the brand allows you to network. Now,
get you access.
It gets you access. I had no reason to really have a conversation with David Goggins before. Now I'm a former U.S. military officer, and I had Bilzerian on, who he wrote the foreword for his book, and I'm having 2 F-18 pilots and 2 F-15 pilots come on here. We're going to have we're going to just talk about flying in the U.S. military and different military operations. I'm going to send that to David Goggins, and if he wants to come on, he can. But like, now I have a reason for him to come on and to have a conversation with him. I'm also a nut about the NFL. I want O.J. Simpson on here. Bad. I would love to have 3 hours talking about football in the 1970s, the pulling guards and trap plays and all this kind of stuff, and all the stuff he went through and what it's like being O.J. Those are the kind of things that I want to do through my curiosity. And it's a blessing. And this type, like you said, building a brand and having a podcast is one of the ways in order for you to be able to do that.
100% platform.
Ryan Stewman has a question for you, hardcore closer. And I think it's interesting because I've heard you talk about this. Ask him what Jesus' real name is.
Well, his real name is Yahshua.
Yahshua. That's correct. Yeah. Why is it had to do with the S at the end of his name in Greek? You mentioned this before, like why his name was translated.
Well, I believe it was translated so we wouldn't know it, because it says, well, the whole world will be deceived. And I think that's one of the kind of sneaky things going on. Because if you look at the scripture, man, it says, use my name, call upon my name, sing praise to my name, but nobody knows his name. And you'll get all kinds of people argue why it's Jesus. His name wasn't Jesus. His name was Yahshua. They say, well, that's how it's pronounced now. No, it's not how it's pronounced, because now it's pronounced Joshua, because I'm telling you, there were other Jesuses back then too. But they weren't Jesus. They were Yahshuas. And today that is Joshua. So why are we calling him Jesus? Well, that's the question. And the question I have is, who changed the name? Because it's changed. It was changed. That's not his name.
Yeah.
So me and Ryan have had deep discussion in the past on this, and he's heard me really get into it because I went down a rabbit hole. And at the end of the day, it's like, dude, I just invite people to look at the scripture simply. It says, call upon his name, give praise to his name, etc. Well, what's his name? Because it's not Jesus and it's not God.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I heard you had this discussion before, and it was it had to do with the original Hebrew being translated to Greek. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Back in the day, they translated it and it went to Iesus, which I-E-S-O-S. And there was reasons supposedly for the translation, or the transliteration, actually, was, well, the Greeks wouldn't have understood because you had to have an S on your name if you were a male, and we wanted to let them know that it was more of a deity, so we had to do this and that and the other thing, and it's all this reasons why they changed his name, but they changed his name.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have a book, and part of it was written in Hebrew, and part of it was written in Greek. So yeah, that definitely.
And it's not a translation.
Or I'm sorry, part of it was written in Latin. Yes, that's absolutely right. I understand what you're saying.
And if you go down that rabbit hole and you believe in Scripture, all I'm trying to do is get people to realize you might be breaking one of the 10 Commandments already without even knowing it.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And you know what one of the 10 Commandments I'm talking about is? Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
Now, vain, if you look it up, means to make meaningless or useless. How much more useless can a name be if you just don't use it? Like, not using his name is literally doing what he said don't do.
Right.
Don't make my name meaningless. But Jesus didn't write the 10 Commandments. God did. But his name wasn't God. You know what God's name is?
Yahweh?
close. I mean, that might be, a way to pronounce it, but Yahuwah or Yahweh or Yahweh, pronunciation is not my issue, but that's his name. So his name's not God. So when people say, don't take his name in vain, someone will say, God damn it. And they, you said his name in vain. First of all, that's not even his name. Second of all, that's not what vain means. Vain means don't make it meaningless or useless. And so if you just stop using his name, like call him God instead, isn't that making his name meaningless and useless? So, like, folks, just, do your own research. Maybe I just saved your eternal soul. Imagine, dude, if you went up to the pearly gates of heaven and they said, who are you here to see? And you're like, God. And they're like,
who's that?
There's no God here. No. God, I've been praising him my whole life. And then they finally walk in, they see Jesus over there, and they go, Jesus. And he's like, that'd be me like seeing you trying to convince this dude, like, this dude knows you, right?
Yeah.
I run up him. We're referring to you, and I'm like, dude, I know frickin' Mitchell. I know Mitchell Spartan.
I love Mitchell.
You know what he'd say? He'd go, you don't know him, because the first thing you learn about somebody is their name.
Yeah.
So if they don't have their name, I don't necessarily think you know them.
Yeah.
Ben Fleyshman? Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Me and him are like this, dude.
I go to his birthday every year. We raise money for charity at Ben Fleyshman's.
And you know what people would do? They wouldn't even say anything. I just think in my head, dude, this guy don't know Dan.
You know what it reminds me of? The guy who walks up to the ropes at a nightclub and says, hey, I'm here to see so-and-so host. And he's talking to that host. And he goes, what are you here for? He's like, oh, he said that I could get into the club. It's like, but you're talking about the guy you're talking to, but he doesn't know who he's talking about. I see that happen all the time.
Yeah, well, hey, folks, Ryan probably said that because it's a little controversial.
Yeah.
Ryan likes a little controversy.
He does.
But he probably asked that so this gets a little controversy, because I do get a little shit when I talk about this. Plus, I get a lot of people going, dude, my man, like not a lot of people talk about that. You should talk about that more.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. And when I don't know, I don't argue. All I know is what I've learned. And what I've learned is his name wasn't Jesus if we're talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
And Jesus isn't God if we're talking about God. They're two different people. No, they're not. See, now here we go. I don't want to argue because I don't know. But I know that wasn't their name.
Right. Got it. Proper nouns are different. Got it. Makes sense.
Your name's Michael, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So if someone's trying to convince me later it's Martin, it fucking isn't.
Right.
It's not Martin. It's Michael.
Yeah.
And by the way, name's a sound. So your name's not that. Your name is phonetic. Michael is your name. If I spelled your name Mykel and someone said Michael, that is my name.
Yeah.
It's not how you spell it. Well, dude, the spelling of a name is trying to get you to say the name.
Right.
So the actual name's
sound,
a sound.
The sound is what matters.
That's right.
Right. And we're reading the 66 books in the Bible without sound. Like, you don't understand. Nobody really knows. I was listening to a professor talk about this. It's really interesting. We don't know what the inflection on Latin actually was. There are no native Latin speakers. There are people who grow up learning a different language like Italian and then learn Latin in school, but there are no native Italian or Latin speakers on the planet anymore. And so we don't know, whenever you hear people singing those hymns in the church, we don't know that that's what it actually sounds like. We really don't. Just like we don't know the color of dinosaurs. We don't know exactly what Latin, the inflection points, or how the syllables sounded. We're just guessing.
Dinosaurs were gray.
They could have been. They could have been green. They could have been gray. They could have been red. We don't know. We actually don't know. So,
well, there you go, Stewman.
Thanks, Ryan. Couple things I just want to riff off of. These are topics that you have talked about on your reels and your TikTok.
Yeah.
Investing, stay broke to get rich. I love this idea.
Yeah, that just means, take all your excess money, your extra discretionary income, and invest it intelligently. So you got to stay broke, because let's say you just handed me $30 million and tomorrow I got rid of it. So technically I own $30 million worth of cash flow assets now, but I don't have the $30 million. How much money do I have? None. I'm broke. So I don't mean literally stay broke.
Yeah.
But stay broke to get rich means, use your money as a tool. Make sure you invest it wisely, quickly. If I could go back to 18 years old and tell myself something, because I always get asked that, it's, dude, read more books and invest more wisely. I spent so much time spending money trying to impress people, and it's just worthless. Like, if I would have known now what I knew, if I would have known then
what I knew now.
Oh, dude, I'd be a multi-billionaire by now.
Of course. Yeah, that's really interesting. I tell my clients all the time, your money either needs to make your life easier or it needs to be working for you.
Period.
If you're using it to impress other people, the problem when you lead with that, that's all you're ever going to lead with. I met guys before who lead with money and then complain about why women treat them a certain way. And I'm like, because you can't unlead with money. You see what I'm saying? And so I would rather have people, and I'm sure you feel the same way, they want to work with Brad Lee because of his intellect and because of his ability to speak and because of what LightSpeed can bring to him, not because they don't like you because you're trying to impress them. They like you because you can perform.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't really care why people like me.
That was another thing that we're going to talk about, gold diggers, and you said, I don't really care why you love me. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, like, who gives a rat's ass as long as you love me?
As long as you love me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, if someone came up and said, "Man, I love you for money," well, I better make sure I keep it because I'll and you know what to expect.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just transparency. I appreciate transparency. You know, it doesn't make that any. Again, society says you shouldn't want them to love you for that. You should want them to love you for you. How about you worry about you and I'll worry about me? In my book, I'd rather have transparency to know right where people are.
Yeah.
You love me for my money? Cool. You love me because I'm the sweetest guy in the world? Cool. You love me because I'm funny? Cool. You love me because I can crack you down pretty good?
Yeah.
Great. You know, who cares why they love you as long as they love you?
Yeah.
Now, if I had my preference, of course I wouldn't want to be loved for some material bullshit. But if that's why you love me, man, why am I going to question your love? I'm just going to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
That's beautiful. I was with a girl once, and she, I took her, grew her social media following. I kept introducing her to big photographers and other models to collab with because I thought this woman was fantastically beautiful, and we ended up starting to date. And I did not do this to date her, but we ended up dating. And in her mind, she was telling her friend she was just doing this in order to like grow her social media because I think
dating you mean?
Yeah, dating me. She went from like 1,400 followers to like 90,000, like pretty quickly. And I remember afterwards telling her, you could have just told me that. Like, I don't give a shit. You can use me to grow your social media. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, you didn't have to like get into a relationship with me for this. And that was disappointing because I'm like you. I like the transparency of it. You remember what you said before about your this is one of the thoughts that slipped my mind. You said about, your wife and being around all the pretty girls and everything. I only date women who date women. And the reason why is because I never have to lie to them. I can always tell the truth. And I know a bunch of them. And then I tell them straight up, I'm like, this is generally who I date. Now, there are exceptions. There are some women that I'm so attracted to that I would be in a monogamous relationship with. But most of the time, I generally choose to date women who date women just so I never have to lie about it. Because when I host a bikini competition, I want you to sit there with me and enjoy the situation instead of getting upset every time some girl comes and hugs me.
But if they date women, why are they dating you?
Some women like both. Some women are.
Listen, then that's who you date. You date ones that like both.
Yeah, they like both. Yeah. So some women are, Jose Canseco, bat from one side of the plate, and some women are like Barry Bonds and bat from the other, and some of them are like Mickey Mantle, and they can bat from both. And those are the ones I generally look for.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't want to say I don't blame you because personally, I'm a one-horse cowboy.
Yeah.
Like one time I had a freaking threesome. I didn't necessarily like it.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm a one-horse cowboy, bro.
Yeah. The women I generally date, they are the ones who encourage the threesome, not me.
Yeah. No, it's fun,
yeah.
Dude. I wish sometimes I wish I was that person.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Yeah.
I personally. Like when you said she revealed to you that she only dated you or she told other people,
yeah,
which is worse,
yeah,
that she's only dating you because she wanted all that.
Yeah.
Well, now, personally, if I would have known this in advance, like if someone said, "Hey, I'm only gonna like you because you have money," well, that's cool, and I would have probably hung out with you for a minute. Why? Because I don't want someone that only wants me for my money.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I still would have hung out with her. I just wouldn't. She wouldn't have been my girlfriend, though. That's the difference. Yeah,
dude. But that's my point. That's why when these people hear me on social media say, "Doesn't matter," I get people, "Oh, that's sad. You should be loved for you." I didn't say I would fall in love with the person. Like,
right.
I want the truth. I want transparency. I can handle the fact you don't like me. You want to fucking ride in the cars and fly on the jets and hang out with the parties. I get it. I'd like to know that. Why? Yeah. Because I don't want someone like that.
Yeah.
But no one tells you that.
Yeah.
They don't. They tell everybody else that. Then you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Or a girl that wants an open relationship. I don't want a girl that wants an open relationship.
Right.
I'm going to be probably just as disappointed if my girl wants to do a girl than a guy. Now, again, I'd prefer a girl. Like, in other words, if my girl's going to cheat, dude, I want her to cheat with a girl.
We were in agreement until that point.
What?
No, I don't. If she can be with 16 girls, I don't care at all.
No, but like, I would prefer that she's not with anybody.
I'm literally taking her on dates and leaving with her with other girls.
If I had to pick, well, that's because you're probably hoping you can jump into both of them.
That's not much hope, but yeah, that
I don't
happens.
want to jump into both of them.
Right.
For some reason, I think when it comes to sex, it's more intimate than it is activity to me.
Right.
I don't know why, but it just is.
Yeah.
I don't really like the, like I wouldn't do an orgy. If you just said, dude, I got 5 of them in here, you can come in here, I'll shut the door, you can all get naked and writhe around in oil. Guess what? It sounds fun, and I kind of would want to, but I wouldn't do it. Number one. Number two, I wouldn't do it if I were single.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. I might do it if I were single because I like to experience new things,
Sure.
but I wouldn't be liking it much.
Yeah. All right, we got that. Listen, this is the first podcast he's ever done where he said he would not be liking the orgy very much.
Yeah, I don't like orgies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do them.
So let me reiterate one thing real quick. I am open to a monogamous relationship with one woman. The reason why I like to date women who date women is because I never have to lie. I never have to.
You don't have to lie anyway.
Right, but when I do, Brad, what I found is they get upset. So
you just lie because it's easier?
No, I don't. They just get upset. So it's one of these situations where, like, did you sleep with that girl? And I'm like, I did. And it's okay, that's fine. And it's not fine. The rest
and just because she dates women, that's okay with her?
When she dates women, bro, it's like it goes from, that's fine to how was she? Like, it's very different. Like,
damn.
Yeah, it's
you're living 98% of the dude's dream life.
It's very different. And by the way, it's not because I just want to have threesomes all the time. It's just I never have to lie. And it was so liberating being like that. Now, realistically,
can I interrupt though?
Yeah.
It's not that you never have to lie, bro.
Yeah.
Because you never have to lie anyway.
Yes.
It's you never have to listen to their whining.
There you go.
That what you're getting at?
That is what I'm saying. Because that's what happened. It was another person I was in a relationship with, and I told her everything. And it was just like, it was a scorecard. Just these little things, tic tacs that she was holding against me for a long time. And then when I was with somebody who wasn't like that, it was so liberating to be with someone. But if I could be with someone who was, didn't date women, but was also completely fine with the fact that so many of my friends were females, or that I used to date someone that, the problem is, like, when a girl is a fan of another girl and I used to date that girl, then it becomes weird. And I don't, when that's not weird, then it's okay. When that's not weird. And that generally happens when you have a girl who's extremely secure with herself. And some women are and some women aren't. And it has nothing to do with how attractive they are. I know very attractive women who are very insecure and very unattractive women who are super secure.
Yep.
So it has to do with security. But, like, if you want me to be honest with you all the time, do not believe that I wouldn't look at another woman if she's attractive. And what happens, unfortunately, for a lot of women is that they've been lied to so often by so many men, they start believing that their ex-boyfriend was not only faithful to them, but never looked at another woman.
Yep.
And that's just not what was happening. In fact, he was probably cheating on you because he told you this nonsense about him not looking at another woman. And so I have a close family member who believes that her husband was cheating on her, and the look on her face, and I never want to do that to somebody. I never, ever, ever want someone that I care about deeply to feel betrayed because of something that I did. And so because of that, I always want to tell the truth. And so that's why I, for a while, was just specifically looking for that type of girl to date. And it worked out pretty well.
Because they're open?
God,
they don't really
so
care.
Open. It's not there they don't care. It's quite the opposite. They care. They want to be with other women and me at the same time. It's like I never have to ask. It's like one of
Where
these
do you
things.
find those? Just for your listeners.
They tend to cluster. It's one of these things where I just ask some of my female friends. Like I one friend, I'll just be honest with you because she's very open about it. My friend Liddy Morangino. We've never dated, but Liddy is very much into women and very much into men. We go out together, and she's very much telling me which girl she's going after, aggressively. And she introduces me to other girls that are like that, and it just sort of grows from there, and you just kind of figure it out that way.
And then you just get to participate when they're going at it?
I don't know how much I can say here. Yes. Yeah. But it's usually not about me. It's about the way it works. You know who Lou Williams is? Plays shooting guard for the Atlanta Hawks, used to play for the Clippers.
No.
So Lou Williams is openly dating 2 women right now. Those two women are lesbians in a relationship with each other, and then Lou is the third party in the relationship.
Yeah.
The people say, hey, Lou, how do you do it? And Lou gave the correct answer. Lou said, I don't do shit. He's like, they're the ones doing it, and I'm just included in this. That's how it works. There's two types of threesomes. One type of threesome is, hey, honey, it's our anniversary. Can we just take Molly, or we'll go to Ibiza, and we'll get drunk, and let's just see whatever happens. And she'll sit on that side of the room, and we'll never call her again. That's one kind of threesome. It's like what I call the Coke, Molly, fucking money threesome. The other type of threesome is this woman wants to be with women and wants to be with men. And if you were to date her and say you can never be with a woman again, she would say, fuck you, and I'm never going to date you again. That's a separate type of girl. And that makes up less than 10% of the population, so it's hard to find. But you want to know a city that has a ton of women that like women?
Sure.
This one. That because the women here are so fantastically attractive that a lot of women who are like that live here. And so that's why.
How do you know if your woman likes a woman?
You just ask them, have you ever been in a relationship? So it's not one of these things like, did you get fucked up and have a threesome? That is not the question. The question is, have you been on a date with a woman with the intent of having an intimate relationship with her and no other man involved? If she says yes, then she's at least open to that idea. If it's one of these things where she was on Molly and let her friends suck her titties, that is not a woman that I'm talking about. That is not what I'm referring to. I am referring to a woman who's specifically like, I love Betty. I've been in I just know several women who have been in relationships with women, and then from that standpoint, it's like it's a lot easier for them to deal with this. But what I think is, of the three of us, the two women have to be more connected than
Dude, I already know what I'm talking about when he's on dropping bombs, Eduardo.
It's funny because
you're not talking about this shit on your podcast.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I had Coffee and Cleavage on here, and they literally interviewed me for an hour just about threesomes.
Yeah, well, dude, you've been doing it how long? How old are you?
I'm 44.
So you've been doing it since ever?
Probably not since I got out of the military. Probably maybe the last 10 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
You should be making courses on that.
You know what? If you made a course on that, you would get canceled pretty quick. That's all I'll say.
Why? I mean, dude, there's a market for everybody. There's dudes right now going, dude, that guy's my idol. And then there's dudes like me. Like, again, I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But I don't want it.
Yeah.
I want a faithful, monogamous relationship. And again, if I ever want to start humping other chicks, then I'm gonna tell this person first. And if she's good with it, I'll be good with it. But in my mind, I just like one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Is that bad? I
No,
mean,
there's nothing.
Is that rare? I should say.
It's not bad or rare. But
it's the truth. Because you know me, dude. I'd tell you.
Yeah, for sure. It's not bad or rare. We talk about evolution. Probably the two most common topics on this program are evolution and psychology. And in human evolution, we had Dr. David Boss on. He's like the foremost evolutionary psychologist in the world. He came on a couple weeks ago. And we talk about how, the reason why men cheat and the reason why women cheat. And one of the things that they mentioned was for women, when women cheat, about 70-something% of the time, they were reporting dissatisfaction in the marriage. About 70% of the time.
Emotional.
Just any dissatisfaction. Altogether, dissatisfaction in the marriage. 70% of them are reporting less satisfaction in the marriage when they cheat. For men, it was the same. Men who reported dissatisfaction in the marriage who cheated or didn't cheat, the same numbers. Women cheat to end a relationship. Men generally don't cheat to end a relationship. And so it was a really interesting thing because they can compartmentalize the difference between sex and intimacy. Men are better at doing that than women are. And I know some women who don't like that, and then they try to sport fuck their way through a breakup or something like that. And it just doesn't tend to work out as well. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions. I definitely know some exceptions. But for in general, evolution created one species to be picky and the other species to try to have sex with as many different, women as they can. And we see this amongst all different types of mammals, where we have one gender who's bigger and one gender who's smaller, and the gender who's smaller who carries the children is the one who's the pickier of the two genders.
Do you believe there are faithful men in the world?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you believe there's faithful women in the world?
Yeah, I do. But I do think that they struggle. Here's another thing, and this is a completely different subject. Testosterone also has a lot to do with this. I know a lot of women who like older men, and they're like, my friend CJ, she's like, I like older men because they don't want to fight with me as much. And I was like, yeah, because their testosterone's like in the 200s. That's why they're not fighting with you as much. They don't cheat on you because they're not as horny as they were when they were 19. That's part of the reason why. And so that's
could be though, because you got fucking testosterone replacement now.
Yeah, so that was
us old motherfuckers. We just stay about 1,500.
Yeah, is that where you're at?
Long. No, I'm like at 980.
I'm at 980. You're like the Brad's at 1,500.
No, but if I were working out and trying to get all ripped, I'd want to be about 1,500.
Yeah.
My guys got me at 980. When I went in there, I was like 4 something.
Yeah,
he goes,
me too.
you don't really need it, but you could use it.
Yeah.
And I said, cool, I'll fucking do it. Bam. And every week, boom. Now I'm running at 980 smooth. So again, it's not a testosterone thing for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, it's almost, I don't want to say safety. It's like a cross between safe, intimate.
Yeah.
You know, there's diseases out there, dude.
For sure.
You go fucking bang a strange chick just because of the adrenaline, and you could wake up with fucking gonorrhea. Yeah, and now what do you do? Now you go bang your main chick. Well, if your main chick's open, cool. But if your main chick's not open, well, now guess what?
Yeah.
Now you just ruined the relationship. Well, I got kids, bro. And not only that, I think I'm cheating on the kids. So it's like, look, if she wants to have sex with other dudes, I don't want her.
That makes sense.
Like, I just don't want her. Like, I will divorce her. I will separate, and
Yeah.
we will divorce. I don't want a girl that wants other men besides me, at least to the point where they do it. Like,
Right.
in other words, I'm pretty sure she's found men attractive and
Yes.
thought shit. You can't stop that.
Then we agree. That's the point I'm trying to say.
But you can stop cheating.
Yes.
You just fucking make a decision. I'm not going to cheat. And I've already made that decision. So, and again, what's crazy is, you know, I don't want all, because I would assume 1 million hot women watch your show because you're friends with them all.
About 1 million.
So if
yeah.
any of them are watching, they're like, you know, we'll see. I'm going to test his ass. Well, you can test me all you want. It's not going to work. But if you test me and I fell in love with you enough to where I'll go home and tell my wife we're done, I want to fuck this one now. And it wouldn't usually just be sexual.
Of course.
And how do you build up that relationship if you don't allow it?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, me and you are similar but opposite, because people are going to think I'm bullshitting them.
No.
They're going to be like, that guy will fucking cheat. I won't cheat.
Well, let me ask you something. When you went back up to 980 from 400, did you notice a difference?
Yeah.
What was the things that you noticed?
More of a, I wouldn't say increase in libido, but more of a, you know, I want to fucking attack her.
Yeah.
More.
But what about focus just in general? Do you notice any difference?
If you want to call it focus, yeah, but just more of intensity.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, you know,
Me too.
Before I got the injection to get to 980, I was more chill. Like, you know, I could take it or leave it when it comes to sex or anything, actually. You know, business, anything. And then when I started getting on the freaking weekly shots and my testosterone came up, you know, it was just more intensity.
Absolutely agree.
Now it's like, now it's normal intensity because it's normal. It's just, I don't ever not do it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, what's today? Friday?
You gotta go.
I gotta go do it.
Were you going to Ageless? Where are you going?
I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Ageless.
Isn't it
Man
Ageless?
or
Yeah, you're
Ageless.
Yeah.
Ageless something.
Yeah, that's where I go.
Where? Henderson?
Yeah.
So do I.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan is
dude,
is
I
my
never
guy.
seen you in there.
Yeah, I was going to get Dan to come on the show, actually.
But you should, dude, because again, there's a lot of dudes out there that are in bad relationships, and that's might be the reason.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody should be 980 or above.
You want to talk about conspiracies? You want to talk about conspiracies? You know, talk about not landing on the moon? This is a conspiracy, I believe.
What?
I think you are smarter and wealthier and more wise than at any point in your life, right?
I am, yes.
Yes. And now we're going to put you back at 980? Fuck. Do you understand what the rest of the world has to deal with now? You understand from a situation, the way it used to work is these aggressive men became less aggressive when they were 50 and 60. And then a new group of men would step in, and then these women would be able to sort of tame these low testosterone men. And this was the way the things would work. But now I have the most money and the most experience at this point in my life, but I just don't feel like doing anything. I'm not as aggressive anymore. Does it make sense? Well, now I've got that 19. You remember 980? That's 19 years old. That's when you are at 19, 18
Really?
years old. Yes, this is like testosterone peaks of your life. And so now you're like triple dangerous. Do you understand? Do you understand why the rest of the world, Brad, would not want men to be more focused at the prime of their life from a competitive standpoint? Do you understand?
Why?
Really? You
Tell
don't think
me
so?
why. No, you said, do I know why?
Yeah. So if you go to an endocrinologist or a urologist and tell them that your test was at 400, they would be like, you sound good. You're good. If you told them your test was at 200, they would have been like, yeah, you're good. I'm like,
For your age, that's fine.
That's fine. Like, hey, I'm sorry, Mr. Urologist. I'd like to have sex with my wife every once in a while. Well, you know, but your prostate's good, so you're fine. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but the number of men committing suicide over the age of 50 has like gone up dramatically. Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, but I could get wood at 400.
But you could. I understand that. But there's some men that get down to 200, and then I'm not saying you or I want to commit suicide.
Take Viagra.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, I don't say you or I, like you even need motivation to want to take Viagra. You need to go to the gym to be in good enough shape to get a woman to come back with you to take Viagra for. And you get all of these things lead up to it. So now we take these men, like if you go to, again, go to endocrinologist, urologist, whatever, and they're like, well, you're within this normal range, you're 200. And you're like, to me, I think that's negligent. I think it's negligent to let a man leave your office with testosterone at 200. Because, and then know the number of men committing suicide. To me,
you think that's related?
Absolutely think it's related. Because for me, there's no way this business is where it is for me, and this podcast exists if it wasn't for the TRT. I personally think that it tripled my motivation for a lot of things, and a new bench press max. All these things happen, and now I'm playing basketball 7 days a week. All these things start happening now because I'm at 970 or wherever I'm at right now, and that's dangerous. Do you understand? Like there was a point where you and me are supposed to step back, and this new generation was supposed to come, male and female. We're still going to be here till 56. I was joking with Bilzerian about this. It's like they keep getting older and we keep taking tests, you know? And I think that there is a movement to keep men from doing this, which is why you had to go to ageless to hear we're going to give you tests. Whereas if you go to your regular doctor, they're not going to tell you that. Yeah, right. Well, now, obviously, you got to give blood every once in a while because testosterone causes your bone marrow to create more red blood cells, which increases your hemoglobin count.
So bloodlet.
So you have to either get a phlebotomy or donate blood. So yeah, there's that. But I think that's a controversy. To me, I think that's like a little bit of a conspiracy that's going on.
Wow.
I do.
And is it females?
I don't know if it's females. I just think it's people in general who aren't.
Is it old people that don't have?
I think it's wealthy. The people who are not wealthy, experienced, established business owners, or like hyper aggressive men. Anyone outside of that group, I think, doesn't want this. Not everyone. I'm not including everyone, but I think the group of people that don't want this, and many of them are in the medical community. They don't like the idea of you already having advantages, and then we increase those advantages by now now you have the same focus and physical and sexual drive as you did when you were 19. That's just a theory of mine. It's just a theory.
Well, my theory is doctors, can't even agree on something.
Yeah.
So you get doctors that'll say test is good for you. Some will say it's not good for you. So who knows who's the truth? Well, their opinions. Well, who taught them? That's the question. And at the end of the day, I think the pharmaceutical companies are the culprit.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't necessarily agree that there's people not wanting us on test, because these are pharma companies want us on test.
So these are different pharmaceutical companies, and the way testosterone, a lot of people don't realize this, it's actually made from yams. Testosterone's made from wild yams. It's not like a huge
yams.
Yeah.
I thought it was made from your nuts.
I thought no. You take HCG.
See, we learn something every day.
If you take HCG actually is a hormone that causes your testosterone, or causes your testicles to refire. Because when you start taking exogenous testosterone, your testicles shrink because they're like, oh well, we don't need any more testosterone. If you take HCG, it causes.
Well, I thought they didn't make it. Yams do.
So yeah, two different things. HCG keeps you from testicular atrophy. Testosterone is made from wild yams. Most of it. Either wild yams or soy. Actually, some of it's made from soy.
Dude, listen, are you talking about the synthetic?
Yeah, I'm talking about the synthetic.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Okay.
We're talking about TRT right now. I meant synthetic,
good.
Yeah.
Good. I was like,
but now I see what you're saying. Yes, your non-exogenous testosterone, natural testosterone is made through your testicles. Correct. Yeah. Exogenous testosterone is made from wild yams. Yes.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. More plates, more dates. I would recommend that podcast highly for anyone who's interested.
More plates, more dates.
More plates, more dates. He just interviewed Dan Bilzerian, and he just went on Joe Rogan. I would highly, highly recommend More Plates, More Dates. That guy Derek is, because he went too far. He talks about how he got too big, and he literally tried to just impress women by just getting as big as he can. A lot of people don't notice when you're on steroids, delts and traps, they have higher testosterone receptors than the rest of your body. So you'll notice that they look like Bill Goldberg with the big fucking huge traps. That's a sign when you have like a disproportionate growth in that area that somebody's on anabolics or androgenics or like test or anabolics or something like that.
Yeah, but the shit I'm doing, that's not bodybuilding.
Right. So
shit.
you're doing somebody's going to criticize me for this, but what you're doing is androgenic testosterone. It is to make you more masculine. Anabolics.
No, it's the anti-aging factor that I like.
But when did you have this testosterone? When you were 19. That's why it's anti-aging. Exactly. The androgen. So what you're doing is androgenic, young, masculine, symmetrical features. Anabolic is to grow muscle.
Did it grow your fucking dick like it did mine? Just messing with you. Just trying to throw it out there. But, dude, I highly recommend any dude.
You noticed that too, huh?
I highly recommend any dude that has low testosterone to go get that shit put in.
I recommend everyone to get it checked.
It's almost like low oil in your car. So I recommend you add some.
So what I tell people is, you know what scurvy is?
Yeah.
Okay, so scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency that used to happen to pirates, and they solved it by putting limes and oranges on ships. Pirates, sailors, back in the 19th century. So if you don't have vitamin C is a miracle cure. Testosterone is not a miracle cure. Unless you don't have testosterone, then it is the great, I'd say probably the two best single decisions I've ever made was joining the U.S. military and taking tests when I turned 40. Those are probably the two, this decision equals a good outcome. Those are probably the two most important ones. And a lot of people don't understand. I have friends of mine who are doctors who take tests. I know one dude's a neurosurgeon, and he's taking the stuff, and the guy looks like a monster. Like, he looks awesome. And then I have some friends of mine who just like, oh, I don't want to do that because I have to do it for the rest of your life. I'm like, well, yeah, the rest of your life, your free test is at 200. You're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life. How about that? You know what I'm saying? I have an ex who tells her friends that I wasn't interested in sex when right before we broke up, and she's not wrong. She's right. That's what was happening to me when I turned 38. For me, it was a plummet.
Was it not interested in sex or not interested in sex with her?
Yeah, the variety. Well, I guess I kind of wanted the variety at the time near the end of the relationship, just being with the same person over and over again. And by the way, I'm not a bad person because I dude, variety.
It's called samoitis. It's a disease.
Samoitis. There you go. When I got the test, though, I really could focus. I honestly, the thing is, what I was describing to you before about only dating women who date women, that was something that happened. Really, was kind of something I felt before the test. Now that since I got on this stuff, I truly think I could be in a monogamous relationship for the first time, or with one heterosexual woman, because I could focus. I want to be with her so much more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, my focus on building. I loved helping a woman that I was dating build her own business. I loved that so much. I loved building her modeling career. She was interested in certain things, and I helped her succeed at it. Nothing turned me on more than helping her build her own empire along with me doing mine. I wanted to be with somebody like that. Once I got on test, it was the first time I wanted a girlfriend in like 15 years, because I don't care what guys think. You can go out there and be on the streets, talk to as many girls as you want. You will have more sex being in a relationship than you will being single and talking to multiple girls. I don't care who you are.
Even if you're Dan Bilzerian?
Maybe if you're Dan Bilzerian. That's the only exception. If you're Dan Bilzerian. Like, I've hung out with Dan, and I cannot express in words his reality. I just can't.
Yeah, it's Hugh Hefner on steroids.
But it's more than literally on steroids.
Mixed with youth.
Yeah, with youth. But here's the other thing. It's like the number of women that I've met who told me right before they went to his house that they weren't going to sleep with him, and then slept with him. And the same thing with Vegas Dave. The number of women that I met that were going to go hang out with Vegas Dave and said, oh man, I'm going to hang out with Dave, but it's whatever, but I'm never going to sleep with him. And I just, this alarm bell goes off in my head. I'm like, she's absolutely going to sleep with him. And they almost always do.
Well, the last one that slept with him, what was her name?
I'm friends with her, Holly Saunders.
Yeah, that girl.
We want to say nice things about Holly Saunders.
Well, I was about to say, dude, she's beautiful.
Yeah, Holly's amazing. Holly is like very talented.
When Dave was on my podcast, he basically said she was showing her shit on shit, and he didn't like that, so he booted her. And I was thinking, dude, are you nuts, dude? Like,
she told me, Holly, don't get mad at me for saying this. She told me she was making $200,000 a month on her personal site. She wasn't even using OnlyFans.
Like, dude, go ahead, make it.
Yeah.
But she was going home to him every day.
Yeah.
But that's again, I got to respect him too, because he chose, I don't want someone like that. It doesn't make her bad.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody on OnlyFans, like Black China, you know her?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she was on my podcast, and she has one of the biggest OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of money from it.
Did you see her walk off No Jumper?
No.
If you get a chance, watch Black China on No Jumper. She just gets pissed and just walks off the set. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I back up those people. Like, dude, if you prostitutes, like, dude, if I were a hot female, I'd probably be a prostitute. Why? Well, because I'm gonna fuck anyway, and might as well get paid big money for it. But hey, don't judge me. I just assume that. Now, if someone told me, Brad, you're so hot, I'll give you $1 million a week to fuck me, I'm gonna be a gigolo. Right. Why? Well, because, dude, I'd like that $1 million a week, and I'm gonna fuck anyway. Yeah,
but here's the thing. You know how many women who would never be prostitutes, who if they got $1 million a week would do it?
All of them.
Yeah, most of them. It's funny because a friend of mine who's very, very wealthy. He goes.
But they're not being prostitutes. They're showing their bodies. Like, big deal.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about with OnlyFans. Agreed.
Yeah, they're big. They're showing their bodies, dude.
Yeah.
And Holly has a fantastic body to show, and she's beautiful, and she's smart.
Yeah.
So like,
Have you heard her do sideline reporting?
Yeah, I've looked her up when she was with Dave. I'm thinking, God damn, dude, this guy's a closer.
I was literally jealous, dude. I was like, you got to call like UT Austin. Like I went to Texas. I went to UT Austin, and she's on the sideline for the Texas games, like calling the games. And she's like, no, Michael, you wouldn't want to do that. I was like, shut up, Holly. I would love to have that job. And she was so good at it. Yeah, she's very talented.
Yeah, and I don't know why he would. According to him, he blew her out.
So here's the thing.
But he blew her out because she was showing her body and doing shit that he didn't respect and he didn't want in a girlfriend. So again, according to Dave, like me and him align more on that. Because again, I don't want my girlfriend freaking doing that shit. But if my wife right now could start an OnlyFans account that made that much money and she wanted to contribute and liked it, I don't care. Why?
Right.
I don't know why I don't care. I just don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't care either. I'm with you on that one. The thing, I'll tell you one of the ironies, and I don't know if this is true, but I will bet you after Dave said that a bunch of girls, this is one thing I've seen also, not just with Dave, with other people, when you stake that claim and say, I will not accept this or worse, like you just said, I don't cheat. And you said, watch, a bunch of girls are going to hit me up and try to get me to cheat. I think a bunch of girls, and actually I know one in particular who is on OnlyFans that started hitting up Dave after he said that. When you
said
made
what?
Try to get with Dave. When Dave said, hey, I don't want a girl who shows her butt. Dave came on my podcast and said, I will not be with any woman who shows her butt or breasts on OnlyFans at all. That's what he said. And I guarantee you some women hit him up after that. Because because a lot of people either they want validation from you or they want to prove you that you're wrong or something to that effect. It's really interesting when you put that down. You say, I will only deal with this level of integrity. People who don't have that level of integrity will kind of like try to creep into your life, try to prove you wrong, whatever. It's really interesting, right? I can't imagine when
I'll be good.
When Dan was he was in a committed relationship with Sofia Beverly, how many girls probably tried to get him to cheat. Like I can't even imagine. Like the number must have been astronomical, you know?
Well, who Dan Bilzerian?
Dan Bilzerian was in a committed relationship back in 2018 with Sofia Beverly, a friend of mine. And he talks about it in the
hot
book.
or something?
Yeah, she's beautiful. But this is they were in a committed relationship for about a year. He talks about it openly in the book.
Did he cheat?
No, he didn't. She accused him of cheating with Jessa Hinton. Again, this is in the book. I'm not talking out of turn here. And then she faked, according to Dan, some screenshots of text messages between her and Jessa, or Jessa and someone else. Dan knew that these shots were faked, broke up with her the same week he closed on 10979 Shalon Road, that huge house, that mega house that's up in Bel Air. And then that's when he started throwing the Ignite parties out there around the same time.
Dude, it's crazy too, because man, when you set yourself up for a lot of top tier pussy like that.
You like that quote?
I love it.
I think you can set yourself up for everything. I think you can set yourself up for that as far as dating. I think you can set yourself up like you do, surrounding yourself with like really, you know how many people want to meet Ed Mylett and just like have a conversation like you get to have with him because he respects you. That's a setup. You are setting your life up for that. Like logistically.
Yeah, I am definitely set up for that.
Yeah. And that's just as important. Like too many guys are just focused on the women. And that was another thing when we talked about weaknesses. There are too many guys from the seduction, like pickup community that weren't worried about their physical muscularity, physical shape, what they were putting into their body, what books they were reading, or whether or not they were building a business. Too many guys that were in this pickup community like, I want to be a creepy weirdo who lives in my mom's basement and then manipulate women into having sex with me. And I was like, why don't we just become awesome and not worry about women wanting to have sex with you? They're going to want to have sex with you because you're fucking awesome. Let's worry about being awesome first. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I felt
100%.
like nobody was leaning into that. I'm sure there are some people. I'm probably way off on this, but those were the areas, the pain points that I tried to attack with my program, and that's why I think it blew up so quickly.
Well, dude, there's an ass for every seat. That's what I'm.
Right.
There's an ass for every seat.
Right.
No matter who you are, no matter what you're into, there's someone else just like you.
You had a great quote, and I love this one. If I don't like what somebody's saying on social media, I can block them. I can choose to block them. So why do I need Instagram to tell me who I can't see? Why do I need Instagram to deplatform some people for me? Can you talk about social media censorship?
Well, I think it's bullshit. I think it's unfair. I think it's bias. I think it's censorship, and I don't like it. But then again, you know, it's their platform. I'm like one of the most fair people you'll ever see. Like, I just keep it real. Someone says, you know, I don't like that censorship shit. You know, half of me goes, well, then get the fuck off the platform. So, I mean, I don't mind it so much I won't use the platform, but I don't like it if someone were to say, well, why do you use the platform? Well, because dude, I want the platform just like everybody else does. It makes me money.
That's it.
I can get reach. I can make impact. It bothers me when they censor people, but not so much that I'm going to stop using it.
I complain about Instagram on Instagram. Yeah, I'm
the
right
only
there with you.
the only thing I don't like that I would complain if someone walked into Instagram is not, hey, why don't you let me see more things that you think are offensive? Because I'll make my own opinion. Because whatever, if I don't see it, I wouldn't even know I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But what bothers me more is the comment spam, Forex trader bots. Like I don't understand, dude. They all say Forex and crypto and bullshit. They can run a program to stop those.
Yep.
I hate those, dude.
Constantly.
I literally have to go back because I'm obsessive. I go back and search to delete them. I mean, I'll go back and when you post a lot like I do, it's like a time waster. But I got to do it. Why? Because I don't want those bots on my thing.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
They don't. What I've said forever is what you're talking about. Like sometimes with attractive women, they'll get banned on social media for stuff they didn't do, and because they're a female, then Instagram does not go look through the appeal. I have seen women lose their accounts because of animal cruelty, but there's no animals on their account, but they were reported for animal cruelty. And what I've said is a very simple solution is if you report someone for something that didn't happen, you should lose your account. That would fix a lot of these problems very quickly. And also, I think there should be far, far, far more scrutiny on accounts that originate from Jakarta and from Tehran, places where these fake bot accounts are being made in the millions. I think those places, you'll see a lot. If you ever see like some female influencers, it'll break down like where most of their fans from, and you're going to see Tehran, Iran, and you're going to see Jakarta, Indonesia, and it's like this because they bought followers. These are fake followers. I feel like there's simple ways to solve these problems. And I've said before, I had my account suspended for a while for impersonating Michael Sartain, and I'm just like, that's fine. Now you figured out that I am Michael Sartain. So everyone who tried to have my account taken away when it's clearly me, you need two things. Number one, you should probably just give me a blue check mark since you know it's me now, which they didn't do. And number two, you should suspend every single person who reported me, because they're obviously bots. They're obviously there. You can, Vice did a story on this. You can pay someone $60 to have their account taken down. You can pay $60 on Tor or whatever, and you can have someone's account mass reported. I think that's a problem. I think censorship of certain ideas is a problem. I think I posted a meme one time where it was like jokingly telling people to get vaccinated, and they took it down because it had vaccination in there at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. Right. I know. I was surprised too, and I just remember thinking, you're so out of control. You're so draconian with your with trying to control your message that you've screwed your own. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm not for mandates, but there was some efficacy with as far as vaccines. We had a doctor come on here, Dr. Rocky Jeddick. He's an Air Force major, and he spoke about it for about 2 hours.
Yeah, but I'll get you one that'll disagree with that doctor.
Yeah, of course you will.
That's why everybody's so trusting of doctors. Nothing against doctors, but they know what they were taught.
Right.
There doesn't make them correct just because they're a doctor.
Yeah. What he was referring to was the peer-reviewed studies about different things. That there's been like 44,000 studies that have been done on the vaccine already so far.
And what'd they find?
I mean, pretty much every peer-reviewed study shows that you're about 75 times more likely to be hospitalized from COVID than you are from a vaccine.
That I would agree with.
Yeah. So,
but what's the point?
The point,
get a vaccine because you're less likely to be hospitalized.
No, the point was, so for me, if you don't want to get a vaccine, don't get a vaccine. If you don't want to get a vaccine because of religious reasons, if you don't want to get a vaccine because you don't know how it's going to affect you in 10 years, if you don't want to get a vaccine because you don't understand mRNA, or if you don't want to get a vaccine because you think natural immunity is better, I will not argue with you.
Or just because it doesn't work.
Right. But if you don't want to get a vaccine because you think that deliberately these things are causing people to get autism, or they're deliberately out there trying to like destroy people's lives, then I need to see something. And I haven't seen anything. That's the problem.
Well, you can look up these pharma companies and they've got more criminal.
While I agree with that.
Because they don't give a fuck, dude. They're out to make money. So my thing with the vaccine is they don't work.
Well, they work to some extent, right?
Because they don't work, dude. They either work or they don't work. You're either pregnant or you're not.
But
pregnant.
the problem is that's not how the flu vaccine worked, right? So
what are you talking about?
The flu vaccine.
I've never got a flu vaccine.
Right, but
and coincidentally, don't get the flu.
I don't get the flu either. But
Do you take the vaccine every year?
Not every year. When I was in the military, I did, but not anymore.
Well, that's because you had to.
Right. So the thing about the flu vaccine is it only had like a 60% efficacy, and the COVID one was more than that for Delta and the original
And
variants.
also 4, 2, or 3 weeks.
It was longer than that. But the thing is, if the vaccine didn't work at all, then 90% of the new cases wouldn't be Omicron. If the vaccine didn't work, you'd see a distribution of different versions of the virus. Instead, you're seeing one, which has mutated specifically to attack your body, even though you have the vaccine. The vaccine then causes a less likelihood of you being hospitalized. But the thing is that the vaccine didn't work at all, then what you'd see is you'd still see the Delta variant, you'd still see the Alpha variant, you'd still see the Gamma variant. You don't see those anymore. Omicron is...
I just got Delta.
Yeah. Did you get vaccinated?
No, I mean, like, I just tested yesterday? It said positive. No, just joking.
Yeah. That's funny. So the thing...
his eyes went, wonk. Why? You're vaccinated, bro. What you worried about?
Yeah, the thing is that you can still be worried. The point I'm trying to make
Why?
is
You're less likely to get hospitalized.
But you're less likely, yes.
Yeah, that's my point. You still can. So then guess what?
So then don't get it.
No. Because you can also get fucked up by the vaccine.
Right.
A lot of people have.
Right.
Okay, so why increase the risk? Well, you're more likely to go for that. Well, how about less likely? Don't take it. It's impossible if you don't take the vaccine to go to the fucking shithole for vaccine. Right. So you eliminated one of the possibilities. Now, COVID, okay, there's a possibility you'll get it. There's a possibility you'll get it.
Well, there's not a possibility. Everyone's going to get COVID.
Okay, but there's a possibility you go to the fucking hospital. Well, yeah, it's not likely. Well, let me take an injection that could also fuck me up. Well, it's not likely. So why would I take another fucking thing?
This is a great question.
To fuck me up even more if it's not likely to help.
Right, because the statistics, you're about 100 times more likely to get a blood clot from COVID than you are from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's the reason why. So
I don't know.
Again,
I don't like shots.
No, then that's I can't argue with that. If you don't like shots, then don't get shots. But the problem is like people who...
No, I already got vaccinated.
Right. So people...
Double vaccinated, triple boosted, just for all the haters out there.
I haven't got the third one yet.
And by the way, I can prove that.
Yeah.
Now, the question is can someone disprove it? Because if they can, then there's some conspiracy shit going on.
Right. No, with the cards, there's companies that just make those cards.
All I know is, hey, if I walk into a vaccinated party, I got the same fucking evidence everybody else does that they're vaccinated.
Right.
Now people are going to be like, he's insinuating he's not vaccinated. No, what I'm saying is, you all think you're vaccinated in those fucking parties and restaurants because that's all they allow in there.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're not.
Yeah.
Which means what? You're not in there all vaccinated and all happy, fucker. You're surrounded by people that falsified those tests and they're in there unvaccinated, which means that's the same thing. It's like, why are you guys fooling yourselves?
Yeah, to be fair, when you go out in LA, they barely even look at my card when I show them.
But you can fake those, dude.
Yeah.
I know lots of people that have the clear pass or whatever.
I've seen that,
and dude, they're telling me point blank they're not fucking vaccinated. They found a doctor with bad aim.
Yeah.
So the injection was real, the lot numbers are real, but it didn't go in their body. I thought when it first started that they're going to go bleep and know if you were lying because they can sense it if it's in your body. But that's not happening. So maybe that's not true. Maybe it helps you and they're doing the best they can and they're just trying to protect as many people as they can. Hallelujah. But if there's a possibility that needle can fuck me up, I don't want it.
There you go.
I just don't want it. Now, well, then you're going to get fucked up with COVID. That's slight chance too.
Yeah.
So why would I add another possibility of getting fucked up? I already got one.
Right. So
unless this one caused this one not to happen.
Yeah.
If someone said, Brad, you take a vaccine, you won't get this shit. Well, then I would take a vaccine.
Right.
But when they say you can get fucked up by that, and you can get fucked up by that, and you're less likely to get fucked up by that, but no.
Yeah.
Just keep your vaccine, bro.
Right. That makes sense. I don't argue with that at all, or the fact that people are running around with fake vaccine cards. That wasn't the issue that I had.
But I am vaccinated, just for the record.
The problem, the issue that I was having was when there were peer-reviewed studies and people were like, well, doctors know different things. I'm like, that's not how peer-reviewed studies work. Peer-reviewed studies are not run by pharmaceutical companies.
Everybody studies it.
No, peer-reviewed study. So I do a study. I come up with a hypothesis. At the end, there's a conclusion. Then what happens is
all your peers review it.
Oh, right. But maybe like 600 people will go through and then they'll try to replicate it through different studies. if this wasn't able to, like, for instance, I'll give one, and we're going to get some hate for this one. The Ivermectin study. There was an Ivermectin study where they were able to slow down viral replication in a test tube with lethal amounts of ivermectin. And because they did that, they said, well, then ivermectin must be some sort of miracle cure, and the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about this. And when they tried ivermectin in vivo, it didn't work. It didn't work, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, but that's, again, dude, I know people that took ivermectin,
but it doesn't
fucking work.
No, they took ivermectin and they got better from COVID. Those two things not necessarily.
That may be true.
Yes.
But, dude, like just monoclonal antibodies.
That works.
Hydroxychloroquine or hydroxychloroquine, whatever.
Hydroxychloroquine is...
and ivermectin, I know several people that took that concoction.
And got better.
And they got better quick. Now,
but doesn't
you're
mean,
right.
Yes.
You're right. It could mean, fuck, they would have got better if they didn't take it.
Yes.
But that's not what happened. They took it. So, again, I don't know, but if I were to get COVID, I'm taking monoclonal antibodies for sure.
You should, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, they're making them harder to get now.
Right. Well,
see, again, why? Why? Because they work?
Dr. Jedek, who came in here, specifically said that. He was talking about monoclonal antibodies.
Why are they getting rid of them? Because they work?
I don't know. I don't know about that specifically.
You don't believe there's any conspiracy in getting people to take a fucking shot? You don't think there's any kickbacks to the fucking politicians that are making these rules?
Well, I don't think there's a kickback to the doctors because I know specifically.
No. We're talking about fucking politicians. We're talking about high level shit. Doctors ain't fucking mandating shit.
Right.
Dr. fucking Fauci.
Yeah.
Flat out lied in Congress. It's been proven.
Yeah.
They did do fucking gain of function research. There is a trail. NIH does admit it, and he fucking lied.
Yeah.
Why ain't the motherfucker in jail?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would be. You would be.
Right.
Everybody would be. But not him. Not a politician. Dude, those politicians need term limits. Like, dude, don't get me started with this shit, dude. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Because, dude, I'm fair as they get, but, dude, that's just common sense. You let a motherfucker in government for 30 straight years and they ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And now all of them are that way. Well, dude, that's an old boys network.
Yeah.
It's a crooked thing. It doesn't matter. Good, bad, Democrat, Republican.
Yeah.
People are saying the election wasn't fraud. Yes, it was. And it was the one before that when frickin' Trump won. And it was probably before that. Like, dude, there's fraud in government.
Of course.
Government is not pure. They do not look out for our best interest. They just don't.
Right.
And how do I know? Look at the common sense things that they're doing. It tells you it's clearly a business thing.
Right.
So when I apply that with the pharmaceuticals who have produced materials on pans.
Yeah.
Remember Dow Chemical? You see that movie?
No.
Well, they found waste being put in water.
Go ahead.
They found waste being put in water. And they said, hey, I think this is giving everybody cancer. And they're like, no, of course not. Of course it's not giving cancer. Well, they did a little insider and shit and found fact, dude. They knew it was killing people. They knew it would give cancer. It didn't matter. This Dow, dude, Dow Chemical.
Of course.
They still exist.
Of course.
They're still in business.
That's right.
And they did that on purpose, and they proved that it's on purpose. How are they allowed to be in business at all?
I agreed with you.
Like, dude, you intentionally killed people? Done with your business license, not pay us $1 billion and then proceed and promise not to do it again. And then when they found out you did it again, well, give me another $1 billion and promise not to do it again. No. That's called fucking money business. That's bullshit.
Agreed.
That's why some rich, privileged people get away with fucking murder or shit on your laptop and others don't. There's people in prison that are in prison for a fucking ounce of weed, and they couldn't get away with it. But then there's people that have murdered people and got away with it because they know a judge, they paid a judge, whatever. That shit exists. I believe that.
You're absolutely right. I mean, JP Morgan is another example. During the 08 crisis, the 2008 financial crisis, nobody went to jail for that. You're completely right. I absolutely agree with you about and Vegas Dave talked about this before. He was like, the amount of money I had to spend on my personal fund or my personal defense of these 19 felony counts, and I got off on all of them. He's like, if I didn't have this money, I'm going to jail. There's no way. There's plenty of people that did not have legal representation.
He might have still went to jail.
Yeah. There's plenty of people that had legal that cannot afford good enough legal representation in order to keep themselves out of jail. You're absolutely right when it comes to that. Volkswagen. Why is Volkswagen, after they lied about the diesel engines, allowed to
they shouldn't be.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. And then what happens is here's $1 billion for your fund. We employ too many people. We're too big to fail. Agreed. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's just unfair. With that all being said, folks, my thought is don't worry about that shit. You know why? You ain't stopping it, dude. It's too big of a business. Just remember that go focus on what you need to do, and 9 times out of 10, you'll all that will never affect you unless you allow it to.
Beautiful. 2 things I want to ask you before we close out here. The first one is risk. You talk a lot about taking risks.
Yeah.
About just unless it's like something really big, you should take a risk. You're going to fail. Failing helps you get closer to your success. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, failure is a part of success, dude. You're never going to win if you never try, obviously. And it's not really that bad. Everybody, thinks they're going to lose way more than they actually would. And a lot of people are afraid to take risk. And it's just stupid because risk is opportunity. So are you afraid to take opportunity?
Right.
Well, why would I be afraid to take opportunity? That's the way I look at it. Risk is opportunity. Why are you so afraid of it? It makes 0 sense. And, the only thing I talk about paying attention to is risk when it comes to physical danger. Like, I'm not jumping out of a fucking airplane. Why? Well, I don't want to take the risk.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take a risk that I could go back to 0.
Yeah.
I'll take a risk to go back to 0. I'll take a risk the person says no. I'll take a risk that didn't work out. I'll take a risk all kind of ways as long as I'm not physically endangering my life.
And Brad, you have the knowledge. Like I fully believe that if you had $1,000 to your name, you'd become a millionaire pretty quickly. You're one of the people that I know would be able to do this just because of your ability to sell and all the connections that you have. I think you could do that. So taking a risk, educating yourself also, I think would also help. Having an
100%.
expertise and you took the expertise and the experience that you have. That's worth more than money. That's one of the things you brought up earlier in the podcast, which I thought was really interesting. Last thing I want to ask you about is gratitude. Yeah. What do you think about that as far as gratitude, as far as present moment awareness and all this other stuff that is a lot of people just don't take time to smell the roses?
Yeah. Ultimately, it shifts your perspective. So if you have a lot of gratitude, everything becomes an opportunity and everything becomes, not a challenge, the opposite of challenge. So a long time ago, I used to wake up and dread, I owed bills and my car was about to get repoed and all this shit. So I realized I'd rather wake up than get $1 million.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, dude, like that makes a lot of sense. Like when I wake up, that's worth more than $1 million, literally and figuratively, because dude, I would not take $1 million to not wake up. So shit, would I take 10? Would I take 20? No. 30, 40? No. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, dude, waking up is more valuable than money. And so why am I putting so much value on money? If you gave me $1 million right now, dude, I'd walk out of here happy as shit.
Yeah.
No one would be able to rain on my parade. I'd be pumped up. Someone says, dude, you just got a flat tire. I don't give a fuck, dude. I just got a free meal. Give me another tire.
Yeah.
Hey, your car got repoed. Shit, I'll buy another one. Like it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
$1 million. But why don't we wake up like that? Well, because we don't realize that waking up is worth more than $1 million. Yeah. So that is simply gratitude. You have to have the gratitude. And when you get that level of gratitude, bro, everything becomes an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I tricked myself into doing it by putting a sign on the wall that said, congratulations, you get another day. And I'd wake up and start, and oh, fuck yeah, that's true. And so my mind just started shifting to optimism and possibility and abundance. And I'm telling you, that's the key. Everybody that's trying to succeed that can't, 9 times out of 10 is they have a limited mindset or a scarcity mindset. And I think gratitude breaks that. That's why it's important.
Beautiful.
You got to learn it. You got to apply it more importantly. But you won't, everyone always says, dude, you're always in a good mood. Well, dude, let me tell you something. You could be in a bad mood. And if you are, you chose to be.
Right.
No one can put you in a mood but you. So if you choose to be in a bad mood, you're just a little bit stupid. And you got to go understand that you're the one that gets to choose, man. Choose happy.
I love it. All right, man. Well, thank you. I'm grateful that you came out here. You didn't have to come all the way out here. I really appreciate you coming out here and doing the podcast.
You must have read 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah?
Make them come to you.
Make them come to you?
That's one of them.
There we go.
I appreciate it, man.
Of course.
No, dude, I saw your name. I'm like, dude, that guy's freaking cool. I'm going to drive over there. Eduardo said, dude, I looked that podcast up. It's got some big names on there. I said, well, now they got the biggest one.
They got the biggest one to date. Got
That's
Bradley
right.
on this guy.
Bradley in the house.
All right. So we're really happy to have you here, man. I'm really grateful to be in that arena with you guys. Just to be able to learn from you guys. I get to pick Ryan's brain every once in a while, Dan's brain, and getting here to talk to you is just invaluable. Hopefully everybody who got to watch this episode understands, you want to be around successful people in order for you to find that level of success. If you agree with everything they said, that's fine. If you don't, what you can't do though, and this is what I see a lot of people do, you see, like Jake Paul, how he's talking about fighting against, not Woodley, what's his name? Deontay Wilder. And people are like, oh man, I can't wait to see this guy get his ass kicked. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't need to see anyone successful get their ass kicked. I don't need to get off. You ever have this happen before where you're very successful and they just don't like you because you're successful? I always try to catch myself. When I see somebody who's successful, there's something I can learn from them.
100%. And just one thing on that Jake Paul thing, when people say, I want to see him get his ass kicked, what they're really saying is they don't like his confidence.
Yes.
And it's 9 times out of 10 because they don't have enough themselves, so they don't like it in him.
Yeah, I kept catching myself. I'm like,
I want to see who wins.
I want to see who wins. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't care who gets their ass kicked, dude. This is freaking awesome, and good for him, dude. He's making money.
Yeah,
you know, the fact that he can, put on a fight, dude. The guy was a YouTuber. Yeah, and now that YouTubers mean something, everyone wants to hate on him. This guy ain't a fighter. This guy ain't a fighter. Looks like a fucking fighter to me. Although I did see the twist of the fist, and man, that looks like he took that punch on purpose. Maybe. So what? If you give me $6 million, dude, I'll let him knock me out.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Would you let him knock you out for $6 million?
Yes, I mean, of course.
Jake, I don't know if I'll draw a crowd. I'm 53. You'll be beating up an old man. Yeah. But hey, you want to knock me out for $6 million? I'll act like we're really fighting.
But that's the thing. The attitude of needing to see somebody successful fail, is that going to make you $1 million? No. Is that going to make you happy? No. So that's the thing that I've learned, is that I can learn from everybody. It was Ryan Stewman sat right there. He said, whenever I'm with somebody who's worth more than me, I just shut the fuck up and listen. And I thought that was great.
He was here?
He was sitting right there, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, Dan Fleyshman was sitting right there.
Right on.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me, man.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for coming out here, guys. And thank you for, man, the growth has been incredible. I went out to LA and just got recognized a ton. For those of you who watch the podcast, I want to say thank you so much. And I have eternal gratitude for you. I don't know how long this is going to go. Hopefully it goes forever. Hopefully I spend the rest of my life doing this. I've got some really great guests coming up for you. I was really, really honored that Brad came out here to talk to me. And hopefully, guys, if I saw a lot of you guys aren't subscribed who are watching the podcast, please click the subscribe button. Please stick on here. For those of you who are on Apple Podcasts, please try to leave me a review. I really, really appreciate that. And I will see all of you guys next week.